Chapter 412. 412. Only 4 people left. A trap, everything was a trap. Everyone finally understood that this was all a trap set up by the people of the Dragon Burial Abyss. Although he did not know what method the people in the Dragon Burial Abyss had used, the dragon's lair had appeared because of them. The reason was that this genius from the Dragon Burial Abyss wanted to use their blood to cultivate his divine skill. You want my blood? Dream on. Huang Qixuan roared, his arms shook and he used the scarlet slash. With one strike, more than a dozen tentacles were cut off. Unfortunately, it was useless. The tentacles would form immediately. Ha, it's no use. The plan I've set up is foolproof. You can just wait for your death. The blood-robed youth sneered. Let's join forces and charge in the same direction. Xian Feng, who had been silent all this while, finally spoke. All right, I agree. I also agree. Bu Fifan and Sun Chu both nodded. Lu Ming also nodded. All right, then let's charge. Huang Qixuan roared and used Phoenix Wing Slash, rushing in the direction of the exit. Buzz. Whoosh. Sword light, saber light, fist force, spear light. They gathered together and rushed towards the exit. In an instant, more than 100 tentacles were destroyed. Before the tentacles could recover, they had already covered a distance of a few hundred meters. Use all your power to control the formation and stop them. The blood-robed youth's expression changed as he shouted angrily. The 100 or so young men from the Dragon Burial Pool shouted in unison. Their true chi surged, and runes appeared in their hands, which were then plunged into the ground. Instantly, more tentacles rushed out from the area surrounding Lu Ming and the others. They were densely packed and kept winding around them. Even if they worked together, they wouldn't be able to get out. Kill. Die. The blood-robed young man shouted coldly and rushed into the formation. His body technique was like a ghost, flashing among the tentacles, but the tentacles ignored him. Die. The blood-robed youth's claw was as red as blood and his target was Huang Qixuan. Huang Qixuan was obviously injured, so he had to deal with him first. Huang Qixuan roared and used the Phoenix Wing Slash, clashing with the blood-robed youth's claw. Boom! Huang Qixuan's body trembled and he staggered back. The blood-robed young man's body flashed and disappeared into the blood-red tentacles. Bu Fifan and the others wanted to help but they were too late. Buzz! Buzz! In a few flashes, the blood-robed young man appeared behind Huang Qixuan. His blood-red claws, like the claws of a blood dragon, grabbed at Huang Qixuan. Huang Qixuan fought back with all his might. It had to be said that the blood-robed youth's own strength was extremely terrifying, no weaker than Huang Qixuan at his peak. Huang Qixuan was no match for him at all, and with the tentacles wrapping around him, Huang Qixuan was completely at a disadvantage. After a few consecutive moves, Huang Qixuan's body shook violently and he spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, a tentacle wrapped around Huang Qixuan. Break! Huang Qixuan roared and struggled with all his might, but he could only break free from a few tentacles. Around him, there were more tentacles that wrapped around him. No, save me! Huang Qixuan panicked and shouted in horror. Slash, slash! Bu Fifan, Sun Chu, and the others used all their strength to save him. Usually, they would wish for the other party to die, but now, they were all in the same boat. One less person meant one less force. If you still want to save him, take care of yourself first. The blood-robed youth sneered, his figure flashed and rushed towards Bu Fifan, exchanging a few moves with him, neither of them winning. Ah! Huang Qixuan screamed. His body was rapidly shriveling and his blood was being sucked out. Save me, save me! Huang Qixuan roared, full of unwillingness and fear. After a few breaths, his scream stopped abruptly, and he turned into a dried corpse. Huang Qixuan, the strongest person in a super region, a rare 4-battle genius, died in this place, turning into a dry corpse. Ah! Ah! Screams kept coming from all directions. At this time, less than 100 of the hundreds of people had died. Most of the blood of the young experts had been absorbed. After absorbing the blood of so many young geniuses, the power of the Grand Burial Array had become even more terrifying. The entire cave was filled with blood-red tentacles. At this moment, the tentacles were actually merging together. The power of the tentacles was even more terrifying. Even Lu Ming and the group found it difficult to defeat them. As for the remaining 100 or so young men, they were wrapped up by the tentacles in just a few breaths. Miserable shrieks continued to ring out as the Grand Burial Formation became even more frenzied. Only Lu Ming, Bu Fifan, Sun Chu, and Xian Feng were left in the formation. At this moment, Bu Fifan and Sun Chu were terrified. Lu Ming frowned, while Xian Feng's face was cold. Ha! Only the 4 of you are left. All of you can die. The blood-robed youth laughed. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Suddenly, Lu Ming turned around and took a step forward. This step was not in the direction of the exit, but in the opposite direction of the exit, in the direction of the pitch-black darkness. Boom! The 7 to 8 tentacles crumbled. Lu Ming rushed forward and whipped out his long spear. The power of wind and fire combined and destroyed the 3 tentacles that were coming at him. What are you doing? Bu Fifan roared. At the critical moment, Lu Ming actually dashed in the opposite direction. It was fine if he was courting death, but their strength had been weakened. Sun Chu's expression was also extremely ugly. Only Xian Feng's expression did not change. Even the blood-robed youth was stunned. Is this kid stupid? The blood-robed youth sneered. Heaven's Path Palm. Lu Ming did not say a word and continued to rush inside. Don't worry about that kid, we'll charge at full speed. Bu Fifan shouted angrily. The 3 of them worked together and kept charging outside. That brat is charging in. That's a dangerous place, and only death awaits him. Use all your power to control the formation and deal with those 3 people. The blood-robed youth instructed. At that moment, more than 100 young men from the Dragon Burial Pool controlled the Grand Formation and sent more tentacles towards Bu Fifan and the others. In this way, the number of tentacles in front of Lu Ming decreased by several times and the pressure was greatly reduced. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming blasted out a few Heaven's Path palm prints in a row, crushing a large number of tentacles in front of him. Lu Ming charged forward at top speed. Lu Ming was about to rush out of the array and enter the dark place. The blood-robed youth's eyes flashed as he muttered, "No, this kid's behavior is strange. He might have something to rely on. Stop him first." In a flash, the blood-robed young man's body was like a ghost. With a few flashes, he appeared in front of Lu Ming. Stay here. The blood-robed young man shouted coldly and his blood-red claw reached out to grab Lu Ming. The strong wind whistled and was filled with the smell of blood. Whoosh! Lu Ming thrust his long spear forward and it collided with the blood-red claw radiance. A powerful force surged forth and Lu Ming could not help but take 2 steps back. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted and took a step forward. I've said it before, none of you can leave the formation. All of you will become my nourishment and help me cultivate the divine technique. The blood-robed young man shouted coldly. He struck out with his blood-red claw and collided with Lu Ming's foot. Then, the 2 of them took 3 steps back. Dandan! Lu Ming suddenly patted the stone egg. Buzz! Dandan turned around and turned into the size of a human head, flying forward. Chapter 413. 413 Under the Abyss. As soon as Dandan rushed out, the tentacles around her wrapped around her. In this formation, I have the final say. Whatever methods you use are just a waste of time, Gu. At first, the blood-robed young man snorted coldly and was calm and composed. However, the next moment, he screamed in panic. Because Dandan completely ignored those tentacles and went through them, directly smashing towards the blood-robed young man's face. The blood-robed youth dodged with all his might, but in the end, he died. Bang! Blood spurted out as the blood-robed youth's face was smashed into a pile of dog shit. Ah! The blood-robed young man roared. His figure flashed and he kept his distance from Lu Ming. He roared, "Damn it! Damn it! Take control of the Grand Formation and kill him." Walala! A portion of the tentacles swarmed toward Lu Ming. "Hurry, hurry, hurry!" Lu Ming burst out with all his strength and rushed forward with all his might. The Heavenly Path Palm and the 9 Dragons' Heaven Stomping Steps were executed in succession. Before, because most of the tentacles had been used to deal with Bu Fifan and the other two, his tentacles were relatively weak, and he immediately blasted a passage. Bang! 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 The tentacles exploded and Lu Ming dashed thousands of meters away in an instant. He was already close to the pitch-black area. When he got closer, he saw an abyss. The other end of the cave was actually an abyss. The abyss was pitch-black, and it was impossible to see how deep it was. Black mist filled the air, making it look extremely terrifying. Whoosh whoosh. The tentacles swarmed toward Lu Ming in a frenzy. They were many times more concentrated than before. Brat, go to hell. The blood-robed youth's eyes were extremely cold. Hee hee. Lu Ming sneered and kicked out. The last tentacles in front of him were directly crushed by him. Then, he leaped and jumped into the abyss. Damn it! The blood-robed young man's figure flashed and appeared beside the abyss. He looked at the abyss with fear, but he did not dare to pursue. Buzz! Buzz! 2 black-robed figures appeared beside the blood-robed youth. Eldest senior brother, what should we do? This guy jumped into the abyss. Should we pursue him? One of the black-robed men asked. No need. This abyss is the most dangerous place in a dragon's Denver. Even if I cultivate the dragon's devour divine technique, I'll still die if I go in. This guy will definitely die if he jumps in. It's just that it's too easy for him to die in the abyss. The blood-robed youth said coldly. Now, attack with all your might and kill the 3 of them. The blood-robed young man pointed at Bu Fifan and the other 2. Yes. Yes, the black-robed man replied and used all his strength to control the formation. Lu Ming had no idea what was going on above. He jumped into the abyss and suddenly felt a strong force sweeping over him. His body could not help but fall rapidly. Hoo-hoo. Gusts of wind blew past his ears, and black mist surrounded him. Through the black mist, Lu Ming realized that the abyss was very wide. It was also very deep. Lu Ming fell for at least tens of thousands of meters before he felt his body lighten. The force disappeared and he could fly in the air again. Lu Ming circulated his essential qi and stopped his fall. He slowly floated down. After about 1,000 meters, they finally reached the bottom. Kacha! When Lu Ming stepped on the ground, there was a cracking sound. Lu Ming lowered his head and was slightly shocked. On the ground, there were white bones. Human bones. Lu Ming took a glance and gasped. The ground was covered in white bones. It was unknown how many of them were there. Moreover, they were all in human form. Could it be that all the human warriors who have entered this place for countless years have turned into white bones? Lu Ming thought to himself and his heart could not help but turn heavy. He focused his attention and observed his surroundings at all times. The surroundings were completely silent. There was not a single sound. Coupled with the white bones on the ground, Lu Ming seemed to have come to the abyss of hell. The bloodline of the 9 dragons is extremely excited about this place. There must be something here that is attracting the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Let's search around. Lu Ming pondered and began to walk forward to observe his surroundings. Lu Ming gathered his essential qi and walked in the air, ignoring the white bones. After moving forward for a few thousand meters, they still found nothing. Woo-woo. At this moment, a strong wind suddenly blew across the world. The wind was cold and gloomy, and it gave people goosebumps. Roar! All of a sudden, a loud roar was heard and a black shadow pounced on Lu Ming with a terrifying momentum. Lu Ming was shocked. He pulled out his long spear and collided with the black shadow. Bang! There was a loud boom and Lu Ming felt a surge of energy surging towards him like the water of the sea. His body trembled and he could not help but retreat. The qi and blood in his body were in turmoil. This is a horned dragon. At this moment, Lu Ming could finally see clearly what the black shadow that attacked him was. It was actually a huge dragon. There were 5 dragon claws on its abdomen, and it was completely black. 5 claws, a true dragon. No, not a true dragon. The next moment, Lu Ming could clearly see that the true dragon was not a physical entity but was condensed from energy. It was formed by a black energy. This energy was filled with a brutal, fiendish, and evil aura. Roar! The black dragon's attack missed. It roared angrily and pounced at Lu Ming. Before it even arrived, it brought with it a violent wind, whistling through the air. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward and collided with the black dragon. The next moment, Lu Ming's body trembled and he retreated rapidly. Strong. This black dragon was too strong. It was much stronger than Lu Ming. Let's go. Lu Ming did not linger in the battle. He turned and ran. The black dragon roared as it pursued. Roar! Lu Ming had not even run 100 meters when a roar came from ahead. A black dragon that was dozens of meters long appeared and pounced at Lu Ming. Another one. The front and back formed a pincer attack. Roar! Roar! And that wasn't all. On the left and right sides, loud roars sounded as 2 black dragons appeared. Lu Ming's expression changed completely. He wasn't even a match for 1 black dragon, let alone 4. Moreover, who knew if there would be more? As if to confirm Lu Ming's words, a series of roars rang out in the distance. There were at least a dozen of them. Lu Ming's face turned the color of a pig's liver. He wished he could give himself a tight slap. This was really what he wanted. As they roared, more than 10 black giant dragons appeared and surrounded Lu Ming. Now, I can only try the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows tightly. In the next moment, the blood light surged and the 9 dragon bloodline appeared. Roar! As soon as the bloodline of the 9 dragons appeared, it roared at the black dragons. The black dragons trembled and stopped, looking at the bloodline of the 9 dragons in fear. It's effective. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was overjoyed. The formation of these black dragons was definitely related to the true dragon, and the 9 dragons were even above the true dragon. As expected, they had a deterrent effect on these black dragons. Roar! At this moment, the bloodline of the 9 dragons roared and flew out. A powerful devouring power erupted from its mouth and enveloped a black dragon. The black dragon screamed in fear and struggled with all its might. However, the bloodline of the 9 dragons rushed over and grabbed the black dragon's neck with its claws. Chapter 4:14. 414 consecutive breakthroughs. Then, the bloodline of the 9 dragons pulled hard. The dragon roared as large chunks of mist were pulled out. The black dragon's body was made of these balls of mist. These balls of mist twisted and rolled in the air, looking extremely evil. Evil qi. These balls of mist were made up of evil qi. Bang! Bang! The bloodline of the 9 dragons pulled again, and an explosion burst out from the black dragon's body, causing a large amount of fog to explode. The ball of mist exploded, and a milky white gas was revealed from the black dragon's body. The milky white gas was about a meter long and took the shape of a dragon. At this moment, it was trembling in fear. Is this goo dragon essence? Lu Ming was dumbfounded at first, then he was overjoyed. The dragon essence was the essence of a true dragon. It was like the genuine chi of a warrior, but it was many times more powerful than that. The dragon essence could absorb the evil chi and murderous chi in the world to form a black dragon. It definitely contained the essence of a real dragon. This was a supreme treasure to a martial artist. When a martial artist refined dragon essence, it would definitely make his cultivation advance by leaps and bounds. To Lu Ming, it was even more precious. The true war dragon technique that he cultivated was dragon-shaped vital energy. If he could refine this dragon essence, the true war dragon technique would definitely advance by leaps and bounds. Absorb. Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline and burst out with a powerful devouring power. The bloodline of the 9 dragons opened its mouth and swallowed the 1-meter-long dragon essence. Continue. Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragon bloodlines and pounced on the other black dragons. Although the black dragons were extremely powerful, they were like mice in front of a cat in the face of the 9 dragon bloodline. They were scared half to death and their strength was greatly reduced. In a few moments, one of them was caught by the 9 dragon bloodline and the evil chi outside was broken open, revealing the dragon essence inside. The bloodline of the 9 dragons opened its mouth and sucked, devouring another dragon essence. Then, he continued to the next one. The black dragons roared in fear and turned to run. My dragon essence, don't even think about running away. Lu Ming gave chase. Just like that, a series of roars rang out in this underground abyss. After half a day, everything calmed down. 18 dragon essences, a total of 18. Lu Ming's eyes were shining. He sat cross-legged on a stone wall, his face shining with excitement. He had killed 18 black dragons and captured 18 wisps of dragon essence. Then, he turned around again to make sure that there were no more black dragons before he stopped. Now, I'll begin cultivating the true war dragon technique. Lu Ming's eyes were bright. He released a wisp of dragon essence from his 9 dragons bloodline and began to circulate the true war dragon technique. When the dragon essence surged into his meridians, the essential chi in Lu Ming's body seemed to be excited all of a sudden. It wrapped around the dragon essence and refined it into essential chi. Instantly, Lu Ming's essential chi became even more lifelike, as if there were small true dragons, vivid and lifelike. His true chi had become more condensed. The true war dragon technique was quickly upgraded. After refining one, he followed up with the second, the third. After Lu Ming refined 5 wisps of dragon essence, the essential chi in his body roared. The true war dragon technique had broken through from the 5th stage to the 6th stage. His true chi was condensed and thick, 7 times that of an ordinary person. This wasn't enough. He continued to refine the dragon essence. 2 days later, the remaining dragon essence had been refined. The true war dragon technique had broken through another level, reaching the 7th level. The density of the true chi was 8 times that of ordinary people. Moreover, Lu Ming's cultivation had also increased by a notch, reaching the peak of the 8th level martial ancestor realm. He was only a step away from the 9th martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming felt that his body was filled with infinite power and his essential chi was extremely condensed. With a wave of his hand, his essential chi condensed into a spear's gleam and shot into the ground, creating a huge, bottomless hole. The long spear that Lu Ming condensed with essential chi was comparable to an ordinary 4th-level spiritual weapon. This was because Lu Ming's essential chi was too condensed. The weapons that he condensed were extremely strong. This greatly increased Lu Ming's combat strength. The true war dragon technique has been upgraded by 2 levels. My current combat strength is definitely at the level of a battle prodigy. Lu Ming pondered. The 2 levels of the true war dragon technique had allowed Lu Ming's combat strength to cross a limit and reach the level of a level 5 fighter. A talent of 5 battles, if it was spread out, it would scare people to death. Now, I will fight with Huang Qixuan. I can kill him in 3 moves. Lu Ming was measuring his combat strength. His cultivation was the same as Huang Qixuan's, reaching the peak of the 8th level of martial ancestor realm. His combat strength was also at the level of a 5 battle genius, while Huang Qixuan was only at the level of a 4 battle genius. Lu Ming's combat strength was a whole level higher than that of Yan Qixuan. It was not difficult to kill him in 3 moves. Lu Ming stopped and stood up. Let's see what else is in this abyss. Lu Ming started to walk around. The abyss was very large, dozens of miles wide. Lu Ming walked around for half a day but did not find anything. It seemed that there were only 18 of those black dragons and they were all killed by Lu Ming. He didn't find any other living beings or spiritual herbs. There was nothing else but bones. After an hour. There's a stone inscription there. In the depths of the abyss, Lu Ming saw a stone carving on a wall. The stone carving was 10 meters long and 5 meters wide. A true dragon was carved on it. The true dragon's scales were actually of 3 different colors. What a real stone inscription. Lu Ming looked at the stone inscription and sighed. This true dragon seemed to be real. It was like a real dragon embedded in the stone wall, and it gave off a majestic aura that could swallow the world. Boom! As Lu Ming looked at it, there was a sudden explosion in his mind. Then, he realized that the surrounding environment had changed. He found that he was in the middle of a cloud, which was actually formed by flames. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the cloud, and the wind whistled. Roar! Suddenly, a dragon's roar reverberated through the world. To Lu Ming's shock, he saw a true dragon with 3 colored scales, rolling and dancing in the clouds. It was more than 10,000 meters long and had 5 dragon claws. It was extremely terrifying as it stepped on the air. A true dragon. Lu Ming had actually seen a true dragon. Roar! The 3-colored true dragon let out a long roar. In an instant, the heavens and earth split apart, and a long crack appeared. Lu Ming felt his brain rumbling. There seemed to be a piece of information flying into his mind. In the next moment, the world changed and the true dragon disappeared. Lu Ming realized that he was still in the abyss, looking up at the stone carvings on the stone wall. What's going on? Was it just an illusion? No, there's a new piece of information in my mind. It's real. Lu Ming muttered. Then, he began to organize the information in his mind. The 3 absolutes of the Dragon God. The message in his mind was a martial technique called the Dragon God's 3 absolutes. It was a spear technique. Spear technique. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Now, his strongest attacks were the 9 dragons' heaven stomping step and the heavenly path palm. His spear technique was the weakest. He had always wanted to find a spear technique to cultivate, but spear techniques were much less desirable than sword techniques, saber techniques, fist techniques, and palm techniques. He had not been able to find a suitable one. Now, how was the spear art he had obtained from the true dragon stone inscription? Lu Ming could not wait to read it. Chapter 415. 415 The 3 Absolutes of Dragon God. This piece of information recorded that the Dragon God's 3 Absolutes was created by a true dragon named Lei Su. Lu Ming closed his eyes and studied it carefully. Half an hour later, Lu Ming opened his eyes. Amazing, this is really amazing. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with amazement. According to the records, the Dragon God's 3 absolutes required the comprehension of 3 types of heaven and earth intent realms. Furthermore, the 3 types of intent realms had to be completely fused together in order to cultivate it to the highest realm. Above the control force was the intent realm. They were the intent realms of wind, fire, and thunder. Only by comprehending these three intent realms and merging them into one could one cultivate the three absolutes of the dragon god to the highest realm. However, it wasn't necessary for one to comprehend three intents before one could cultivate it. According to the records, one could cultivate it after comprehending one intent, but the power would be much weaker. Comprehending a kind of intent realm and cultivating the dragon god's three absolutes, the power of the dragon god's three absolutes was about the same as an upper earth grade martial technique. And if one comprehended two intents and fused them together, the power would reach heaven grade low rank. After comprehending three kinds of intent, its power could reach heaven grade top rank. According to Lei Su's speculation, three intents weren't the limit. If he could comprehend four intents and merge them together, the power of the three absolutes of the dragon god would be even stronger. Unfortunately, Lei Su was born with three kinds of intent realms. In the end, he didn't even comprehend the fourth kind. Intent, I'm still far from it. I haven't even reached the peak of control force. Lu Ming sighed. Could it be that one can't cultivate without comprehending intent? Lu Ming was a little indignant. He carefully read the message in his mind. A moment later, he revealed a hint of joy. This time, he had a new discovery. One didn't need to comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth to cultivate it. As long as one comprehended the corresponding sure, one could also cultivate it, just that one couldn't cultivate it to a high level. Coincidentally, Lu Ming had comprehended the force of wind and fire, which corresponded to the wind and fire concepts. If he cultivated the three absolutes of the dragon god, its power would be equivalent to a low-grade heaven-level martial technique. However, with two of Lu Ming's sure at the peak of phenomenal success, he could only cultivate the dragon god's three absolutes to the first level at most. Only when both forces reached perfection could they be cultivated to the second level. This was the limit. If one wanted to cultivate to a higher level, they would have to comprehend the will of heaven and earth. The first level is good enough. Lu Ming laughed heartily. He was very satisfied. One must know that he had fused two types of forces and had already successfully fused them. The dragon god's three absolutes was equivalent to the power of a low-rank heaven-grade martial technique. The power of the first stage of a heaven-grade lower-level martial skill was already at the highest level of an earth-grade martial skill. In other words, as long as Lu Ming cultivated the first stage of the three absolutes of Dragon God, its power would completely surpass the heavenly Dao Palm and become Lu Ming's strongest killing move. When my wind and fire power evolves into the essence realm of heaven and earth, I'll comprehend the essence realm of thunder. Then, the three absolutes of the Dragon God will be even more powerful. Lu Ming was filled with anticipation. This stone inscription actually contains such a powerful supreme art. How wonderful! Lu Ming's entire body trembled. His eyes widened as he stared at the three-colored true dragon's claw. The true dragon's steps reminded him of the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. Although the 9 dragons were more powerful than the true dragon, Lu Ming was still too far away from that level. Not to mention the 9 dragons, even the true dragon was tens of thousands of times stronger than Lu Ming. There were similarities between the true dragon's steps and the 9 dragons' heaven-trampling steps. Lu Ming suddenly felt enlightened. Some parts of the 9 dragons' heaven-trampling steps that he could not comprehend were instantly understood and became smooth. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming could not help but think of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. He then took a step forward. Boom! 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 Heaven and earth rumbled, and heaven and earth suddenly shattered. The environment changed. Lu Ming found that he was still in the abyss, looking up at the stone carvings. 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps, I'll try it out. With a single thought, Lu Ming appeared in the supreme shrine. He didn't dare to test it in the abyss. He was afraid that if he took a step out, he would destroy the abyss. Everything else was fine, but it would be a pity if he destroyed that stone inscription. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Suddenly, Lu Ming said softly and took a step forward. Bang! He took a step on the Supreme Shrine's platform, and it seemed as if the entire Supreme Shrine was shaking. Fortunately, the Supreme Shrine was a treasure of the 9 Suns Supreme. Lu Ming could not destroy it with his cultivation base. The Supreme Shrine only trembled for a moment before it returned to its calm state. At this moment, Lu Ming took another step. This step wasn't to start from the beginning, but to take another step on the foundation of the first. 9 dragons heaven-trampling steps, 2 steps in a row. Lu Ming had finally cultivated to the second step. Buzz! The world buzzed and a mysterious aura rippled under Lu Ming's feet. Boom! With this step, the Supreme Shrine shook violently again, even more so than before. Whew! Lu Ming then took a deep breath. What a powerful pressure! Lu Ming pondered. With every step of the 9 dragon skytreading steps, his body would feel a powerful pressure from heaven and earth. With 2 steps, the pressure would be multiplied. Of course, its power was also extremely terrifying. It's even more powerful than the Heaven Path Palm. It's just barely at the Heaven Grade low rank. According to the records of the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps, the first 2 steps are considered to be building the foundation. The increase in power is not very obvious. From the 3rd step onwards, the power will increase by several times with each step. That is the true horror. However, the difficulty of the cultivation will also increase by several times. This stone inscription is too wonderful. Let me take a look again. Next, Lu Ming looked at the stone inscription. The environment changed again. This time, the 3-colored true dragon was still in the starry sky. This time, Lu Ming only observed carefully and did not notice anything. Not long after, the 3-colored true dragon's body began to transform rapidly. In the end, it actually turned into a handsome middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was wearing a tricolored robe. A long spear appeared in his hand and he began to wave it. This is the dragon god's 3 absolutes. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he began to take a closer look. The dragon god's 3 absolutes were divided into 3 moves. They were the True Dragon Strike, the 10,000 Dragon Kill, and the Extreme Strike. The first 2 moves could be cultivated no matter how many intents or forces one had comprehended. Only the 3rd move, the Extreme Strike, could be practiced after one had comprehended the wills of wind, fire, and thunder and successfully combined them. Once it was successfully cultivated, the power was extremely terrifying. A spear thrust could penetrate everything and break everything. He did not expect that there would be a scene of Lei Su practicing his spear technique on the stone inscription. This was of great help to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took a closer look. A moment later, the world changed and Lu Ming was still in the abyss. Chapter 4:16. 4:16 The place of the final assessment. Immediately, Lu Ming took out his long spear and started to wave it. The long spear danced like a dragon, bringing with it the power of wind and fire, and the faint roar of a dragon could be heard. However, after a moment, the dragon's roar stopped abruptly and Lu Ming stopped cultivating. Although he failed, Lu Ming was not dejected. Of course, the 3 absolutes of the dragon god could not be cultivated so easily. Moreover, his wind-fire force was only at the phenomenal success stage. It was already very good that he was able to produce the sound of a dragon's roar on his first attempt. It was all thanks to that stone carving. Continue. Lu Ming immediately continued cultivating. Just like that, Lu Ming was fully immersed in his cultivation. There were 2 main types of cultivation. One was the dragon god's 3 absolutes and the other was the 9 dragons heaven-treading steps. This was because these 2 types of inscriptions could inspire one and greatly help one's cultivation. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. There were only a few days left until the end of the Dityan Divine Guard selection. At this moment, all the geniuses in the Eastern Nether ancient battlefield were gathering towards the center of the battlefield. There, he would take part in the final assessment. In the dragon's cave, blood chi was rolling like an ocean in the huge underground cave. Suddenly, the blood chi churned and formed a blood-red giant dragon. It rushed toward a blood-robed young man and entered his body in the blink of an eye. Buzz! The blood-robed youth suddenly opened his eyes. 2 rays of blood-red light shot through the air. Buzz! Buzz! More than 100 black-robed men appeared in front of the blood-robed young man and shouted, "Congratulations, senior brother. Ha ha ha, it's all thanks to the blood of those geniuses that I've achieved great success." Unfortunately, one of them jumped into the abyss, and the other one escaped. Otherwise, I could have reached a higher level. But this is enough. The Eastern Sky Divine Guards, one of the 4 Sky Divine Guards, will be buried by me. The blood-robed youth laughed. Senior brother is invincible. The black-robed man flattered. Ha, let's go. Let's head to the place of the final examination. The blood-robed young man smiled and led everyone out of the dragon's cave, rushing towards the central area. There was an extremely hidden valley some distance away from the dragon's cave. This valley was filled with rolling thunder and lightning, and it was filled with endless power of lightning. A young figure walked out of the valley. His body was covered in thunder and lightning, and his aura soared to the sky. I didn't expect to cultivate for almost 3 months. Lu Ming, don't die. If you want to die, you'll have to wait until I find out the secret of the Martial Emperor's treasure. A cold voice came from the person, as cold as the winter snow. This person was Chiu Changkong. With a cold laugh, Chiu Changkong turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the horizon, heading towards the central region. At the same time, Lu Ming was still cultivating. In the abyss, Lu Ming stared at the stone inscription in a daze. He only came to his senses after an unknown period of time. True Dragon Strike. Die! Lu Ming said softly. The demon-subduing spear suddenly appeared. The power of wind and fire grew and he thrust the spear. Roar! A dragon's roar resounded as the power of wind and fire converged, forming a 2-colored true dragon that roared wildly. The dragon god's 3 absolutes are the limit of the first level. It's a pity that I'll need to perfect the power of wind and fire to break through to the 2nd level. After nearly 2 months of cultivation, he had finally succeeded in cultivating the dragon god's 3 absolutes. Moreover, he had reached the limit of the 1st level. One had to know that this was equivalent to a heaven-grade lower-level martial skill. To be able to successfully cultivate it in such a short period of time was already very rare. It's a pity that I still haven't successfully cultivated the 3rd step of the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. Lu Ming sighed. During this period, the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps had also improved by leaps and bounds. Lu Ming felt that he was only 1 step away from cultivating the 3rd step of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. Once he cultivated the 3rd step of the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps, his power would increase crazily. The power of the 3rd step was equivalent to the 6th stage of a heaven-grade low-level martial technique. It's a pity that I don't have much time left. The 3-month period is almost up. I really want to continue cultivating here. Lu Ming sighed and looked at the dragon-shaped stone carving with bright eyes. Can we dig out this stone inscription? Lu Ming stared at the stone inscription and studied it carefully. After a while, he flew up and took out a shiny big knife. He actually started to cut around the stone inscription. He wanted to take this stone inscription away. The stone walls here were extremely hard, equivalent to a 4th-level spirit weapon. Sparks flew when it cut into the stone walls, and the resistance was unbelievably strong. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength to cut and dig. After a long time, Lu Ming was sweating profusely and he was only halfway done. Sure, let's continue. Lu Ming buried himself in his work again. Kacha! Suddenly, the stone inscription made a cracking sound and a crack appeared in the middle. "Don't!" Lu Ming shouted. "Kacha! Kacha!" The sounds became more and more intense, and spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the stone. Bang! In the end, the entire stone inscription exploded and turned into ashes, scattering in all directions. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This stone inscription had actually exploded on its own. "Sigh, it seems like we can't take it away. Once we excavate it, the stone inscription will self-destruct." Lu Ming sighed in pity. In that case, he was the only one who knew the three absolutes of the dragon god. "Forget it. Without the stone inscriptions, I can still cultivate the three absolutes of the dragon god to the highest realm. I have to set off now. Any later and it'll be too late." Lu Ming soared into the sky and flew up. However, when he was more than 1,000 meters in the air, there was an invisible force that blocked Lu Ming's flight. Lu Ming slid to the side, stuck to the wall, and quickly climbed up. A moment later, Lu Ming finally left the abyss and arrived at the huge cave. The underground cave was quiet, without a single sound. There were hundreds of dried corpses lying on the ground. They were all the young experts who had come in last time. As for that piece of dragon scale, it had naturally disappeared without a trace. "I wonder if Bu Fifan and the others have escaped." Lu Ming muttered and walked forward. Suddenly, he stopped. There were a few mummies here which attracted Lu Ming's attention. "Bu Fifan, Sun Chu." Lu Ming sighed. Through their clothes, he recognized two mummified corpses. They belonged to Bu Fifan and Sun Chu. It seemed that the strongest of these two super regions did not manage to escape in the end. However, he did not see Xian Feng's body. Did Xian Feng escape? Lu Ming pondered. The ancient barren city had always been mysterious. It was normal for Xian Feng to have some powerful escape techniques. "Let's go." After that, Lu Ming did not stop. He turned into a ray of light and rushed up the cave. Very soon, they were out of the dragon's cave. Lu Ming took a step forward and his figure disappeared from the place. He was heading towards the central area with all his might. In the central region of the eastern nether ancient battlefield, there were 108 sacrificial altars built on a flat piece of land. Each altar was 100 meters tall and was extremely majestic. 108 altars were scattered in 4 regions. Each region had 27 altars, and the 4 regions were 900 miles apart from each other. Chapter 4:17. 4:17 The Gathering of Geniuses. Buzz! Buzz! The sound of the air being torn apart rang out as figures appeared outside these altars. Each direction of the eastern nether ancient battlefield corresponded to a sacrificial altar. All the geniuses of the eastern region of the Tianxian region were scattered in these 4 directions. Lu Ming was in the east. At the altar in the eastern region, figures flickered and young men with powerful auras appeared. A few hours later, more than 3,000 people had gathered, and the number was still increasing. Buzz! Buzz! 2 rays of sword radiance appeared outside the altar. When the sword radiance dissipated, 2 figures were revealed. They were Jian Fengyun and Xiao Haoyu. Their auras were powerful, clearly much stronger than they were 2 months ago. Brother Jian. As soon as Jian Fengyun appeared, someone in the crowd flew over to greet him. Brother Jiang. Jian Fengyun smiled. This person was Jiang Hongwen, who was ranked 3rd on the Cloud Emperor board. In addition, there were also some familiar faces on the Cloud Emperor board, such as Su Yingying, who was ranked 13th. Lu Xiaofeng, who was ranked 35th. When they first entered the eastern nether ancient battlefield, not everyone had gathered together. Most of the people were gathered together, but there were still some people who were scattered far away after being teleported in. Jiang Hongwen and the others were the same. Jian Fengyun greeted them with a nod. The number of people kept increasing, and soon, it had exceeded 5,000. Guys, look. That's the genius from the super district, Fengyun Bay. The geniuses from White Feather City are here too. That's also a super region. Around them, people kept exclaiming in shock. This was because the geniuses from the superior super regions had all appeared. Look, what's that? A blood-red cloud? Suddenly, someone pointed into the distance and shouted. In the distance, a mass of blood-red clouds surged over. As it approached, the cloud dispersed, revealing more than 100 figures inside. The leader was Zhang Sheng, the blood-robed young man from the Dragon Burial Abyss. The others were the 100 over young experts from the Dragon Burial Abyss. Hee hee. A bunch of trash. Zhang Sheng looked at the geniuses from the super regions and laughed in disdain. He did not hold back his voice at all, and it spread far and wide. What did you just say? You're looking for death. In the Fengyun Bay area, a genius roared angrily. His killing intent flashed as his body moved and he pounced forward like a corpse. His aura was as heavy as a mountain. This was a genius expert who had reached the early stage of martial ancestor 8 Dan. Whoosh! At this moment, Zhang Sheng's figure flickered, like a phantom. In the next moment, a mournful scream rang out. Everyone was shocked to see that Zhang Sheng's claw was on the head of the young man from Fengyun Bay, and 5 holes were made in his head. The body of the young man from Fengyun Bay wriggled rapidly. In a few breaths, he turned into a dry corpse. All the blood chi essence in his body had disappeared. Hiss hiss hiss. Gasps could be heard as everyone looked at Burial in shock. This was a genius in the early stage of the martial ancestor 8 Dan. Moreover, he was most likely a genius who had won 3 battles. However, in the hands of buried life, he was as weak as a little chick and had no power to resist. How strong was Burial? Boom! Boom! Powerful auras burst out from the Fengyun Bay area. Hundreds of young men stared at Zhang Sheng with gloomy eyes. One of them, in particular, had an especially powerful aura that was extremely terrifying. He was wearing a wind cloud robe and stepped out. He stared at Zhang Sheng with an unfriendly gaze and said, "Friend, isn't this too much?" He's the Aeolus sect, the most powerful person in the Fengyun Bay area. Someone recognized the young man. Too much. He's just a piece of trash. Is it wrong for me to say that? If you want to attack me, you're just courting death. What, you want to attack too? I don't mind sending you on your way to accompany him. Zhang Sheng laughed in disdain and licked his lips. His eyes were cold and greedy as he looked at the Aeolus sect. Savage, he was completely savage. Even when facing the strongest person in a super region, he was still extremely savage. The Aeolus sect leader frowned. For some reason, being stared at by Zhang Sheng, Aeolus sect felt a chill run down his spine. His hair stood on end as if he was being stared at by an extremely venomous snake. Where are you guys from? The Aeolus sect asked. Hee hee, you want to know? There's no harm in telling you, we're from the Dragon Burial Abyss. Zhang Sheng sneered. Dragon Burial Abyss? The Aeolus sect leader's eyes flashed and he was a little surprised. He then said, "All right, I'll remember this." The Aeolus sect had retreated, causing an uproar among the onlookers. Clearly, the Aeolus sect did not make a move. They were planning to retreat. Wasn't the Dragon Burial Abyss an ordinary large area? How could there be such a terrifying genius? Could it make the Aeolus sect retreat? Everyone looked at Zhang Sheng with great curiosity. Hee hee. Zhang Sheng laughed in disdain. At this moment, more and more people were gathering, and there were already more than 10,000 people. Whoosh! In the sky, a bolt of lightning flashed, and a figure appeared. Qiu Changkong. The people from the Cloud King mountain range exclaimed when they saw Qiu Changkong. The moment Chiu Changkong appeared, he scanned his surroundings and saw Jian Fengyun and the others. He took a step forward and arrived in front of Jian Fengyun and the others. He looked around and said coldly, "Where's Lu Ming? Where did he go? Could he be dead? Do any of you have any news about him?" His tone was overbearing and commanding. It didn't sound like a question, but more like he was ordering Jian Fengyun and the others to speak. Jian Fengyun, Jiang Hongwen, and the others frowned. They were all geniuses, so they were naturally displeased with Chiu Changkong's tone. Brother Lu is a peerless talent. Naturally, he won't die. He's most likely on his way here. Jian Fengyun said. Brother Lu. It seems that you have been with Lu Ming all this while. Tell me, where is Lu Ming? Send him a message and tell him to come over and die. Chiu Changkong continued to command. Chiu Changkong, mind your attitude. Even if I knew, why should I tell you? Jian Fengyun's voice turned cold. What's wrong? Are you unhappy? Haha, Jian Fengyun, do you still think that you are the #1 genius on the Cloud Emperor board? I'm telling you, in front of me, you're just a piece of trash. Now, kneel down. Chiu Changkong was incomparably arrogant as he sent a palm flying toward Jian Fengyun. Buzz! The sound of a sword rang out as Jian Fengyun unsheathed his long sword. A streak of sword chi shot up into the sky. It was terrifying. The early phase of the martial ancestor realm level 8. It was obvious that Jian Fengyun had also made a breakthrough during this period of time. He had reached the early phase of the martial ancestor realm level 8. Chiu Changkong, you may have had a fortuitous encounter and your cultivation base has improved greatly, but you're too arrogant. Let me see how much progress you've made. Jian Fengyun said in a deep voice. Buzz! In the next moment, an extremely sharp sword chi slashed toward Chiu Changkong. Supercilious? Why do I need to look at you guys in the eye? Chiu Changkong laughed coldly. He suddenly pointed his fingers together like a sword, and a bolt of sword chi with lightning flashing around it burst forth. With a crisp sound, Jian Fengyun's sword chi was shattered. Chiu Changkong's lightning sword chi continued on its way to Jian Fengyun's throat. The speed was so fast that it was beyond human reaction time. Jian Fengyun wanted to avoid it, but it was too late. Chapter 418. 418 The powerful Chiu Changkong. Just as Jian Fengyun was about to die under the sword, Chiu Changkong's hand gesture changed. His sword fingers turned into a palm, and he slapped Jian Fengyun's shoulder. Jian Fengyun's body trembled and he knelt down. Bang! Jian Fengyun fell to his knees in front of Chiu Changkong. Ah! Jian Fengyun struggled with all his might. His eyes were red. This was worse than death. He would rather die than kneel in front of Chiu Changkong. However, with a flash of lightning from Chiu Changkong's palm, Jian Fengyun's body shuddered and he was no longer able to resist. Brother Jian! Xiao Haoyu roared, a powerful aura rising from his body. Chiu Changkong, don't go too far. Jiang Hongwen and the others also shouted. They were shocked to see that Chiu Changkong's combat strength had increased so much in just 3 months. Jian Fengyun's cultivation had improved by a huge margin, but he was still defeated by Chiu Changkong in a single move. He was forced to his knees. How could Chiu Changkong be so powerful? What kind of fortuitous encounter did he have? Chiu Changkong's eyes turned cold as he looked at Jiang Hongwen and the others. What's wrong? You want to interfere? Are you looking to die? Boom! Chiu Changkong's body exploded with killing intent and a powerful aura. It was as if an ancient beast had awakened. The powerful aura forced Jiang Hongwen and the others to retreat, their faces full of fear. At this moment, the strongest experts of the super regions were all looking at Chiu Changkong with grave expressions. This guy. Zhang Shen also looked at Chiu Changkong, a hint of killing intent flashing in his eyes. Hee hee. Seeing the expressions on Jiang Hongwen and the others' faces, Chiu Changkong let out a cold laugh and revealed a satisfied expression. He looked down at Jian Fengyun and said, Jian Fengyun, I won't kill you today. I'll let you see with your own eyes who is the strongest in the Cloud King mountain range. Ha! Chiu Changkong looked at Jian Fengyun with disdain and laughed heartily. Jian Fengyun clenched his fists so tightly that his nails dug into his flesh, causing blood to flow. You're just a piece of trash. Chiu Changkong laughed in disdain, feeling extremely carefree. The most powerful man in the Cloud Emperor mountain range was still kneeling in front of him. Next, he was going to become the Eastern Sky Divine Guard of the 4 Sky Divine Guards and make all the other geniuses bow down to him. Buzz! At this moment, the 27 altars suddenly started to shake and gave off a bright light. The array has been activated. We have to leave this place and take part in the final assessment. This time, I'll definitely become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard. Sigh, I'll be satisfied as long as I can become a Reserve Detian Divine Guard. Buzz! The 27 altars glowed with light and inscriptions. After a while, the light from the 27 altars gathered together and a huge whirlpool appeared above the altars. The teleportation path to the final assessment has been opened. All you have to do is enter the whirlpool and you will arrive at the final assessment location. A deep and majestic voice came from the vortex. Ha! The final assessment has begun. Let's go. Zhang Sheng laughed and flew into the whirlpool, disappearing. The rest of the people from the Dragon Burial Abyss followed closely behind. Let's go. Let's go. More than 10,000 people flew into the whirlpool and disappeared like locusts. That Lu Ming is not here yet. It seems that he has died somewhere. Chiu Changkong coldly snorted. Then, he looked into the distance with a cold glint in his eyes. Lu Ming, don't think that just because you're dead, I won't be able to get the news of the Martial Emperor's treasure. Once I become an Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard and flatten the Mystic Essence Sword Sect, I'll get the news of the Martial Emperor's treasure from your father. Hee hee, don't think that I can't do anything just because that old man swore to die and refused to obey. Chiu Changkong's mind raced as he looked at Jian Fengyun. He kicked Jian Fengyun away and said, Trash, get lost. Then, he moved and rushed toward the vortex, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Brother Jian, how are you? Xiao Haoyu, Jiang Hongwen, and the others quickly went over to help Jian Fengyun up. I'm fine. Jian Fengyun said as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Sigh, I didn't expect Chiu Changkong's cultivation to have reached such a level. It's truly shocking. Jiang Hongwen sighed. Jian Fengyun's expression was ugly. He didn't say much. He looked into the distance and said in a low voice, Lu Ming, did something really happen to you? He's already dead. Lu Ming had not arrived yet. It was very likely that there was a problem. Suddenly, Jian Fengyun's expression changed. He saw a ray of light rapidly approaching from the horizon. This ray of light was too fast. It arrived here in an instant. Lu Ming. Lu Jianfengjian was overjoyed. The light faded and Lu Ming's body was revealed. Lu Ming was as fast as lightning and he finally arrived. Ha, Lu Ming, I knew you would be fine. Jian Fengyun was ecstatic. Ha, brother Lu. Xiao Haoyu also stepped forward to greet him. At the side, Jiang Hongwen and the rest were extremely puzzled. Wasn't it just Lu Ming? Did Jian Fengyun have to be so excited? Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, he had barely made it into the top 10 in the previous qualifiers. What was there to be happy about? Brother Jian, you're injured, and it seems like you've just been injured. Who injured you? Lu Ming could tell that Jian Fengyun was injured at a glance. Although the injury was not serious, Lu Ming could tell with one look. Ha, I'm fine. It's just a small injury. Jian Fengyun smiled. Lu Ming frowned. Jian Fengyun seemed to be afraid of something and did not tell the truth. Brother Jian, why hide it? Lu Ming, let me tell you. This matter is all because of you. Jiang Hongwen shouted from the side. Brother Jiang, say no more. Jian Fengyun wanted to stop him. Because of me? Lu Ming frowned. That's right, it's all because of you. I know that you and Qiu Changkong come from the same empire and have a grudge against each other. Just now, Qiu Changkong couldn't find you, so he took out his anger on Brother Jian. Jiang Hongwen said loudly. Qiu Changkong. He's actually this strong. Lu Ming said. That's right. I don't know what kind of fortuitous encounter Qiu Changkong had, but his cultivation base is terrifyingly strong. Lu Ming, let me remind you, if you encounter Qiu Changkong, you should stay as far away as possible. I'm just giving you a friendly reminder, don't doubt me. Jiang Hongwen said. The other geniuses in the Cloud Emperor mountain range nodded. Brother Lu, Qiu Changkong is indeed powerful now. You might not be a match for him. Jian Fengyun sighed. Is that so? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile and a murderous intent flashed across his eyes. Let's go. Lu Ming changed the topic and did not say anything else. Everyone nodded and rushed into the vortex. When Lu Ming rushed into the vortex, the familiar feeling of the world spinning around him happened again. After a while, Lu Ming found himself standing on a platform paved with white jade. Lu Ming sized up his surroundings. The three sides of the platform were blurry like chaos, and the last side was a flight of stairs. The stairs were completely paved with white jade, and they went straight up. This is the 1,000-step jade staircase. Only those who can climb it will be considered as Reserve Emperor Heaven Divine Guards. Those who can't climb it will be eliminated. Lu Ming pondered. Chapter 419. For 19 The battle in the spectator stand. Lu Ming had long learned that the final assessment of the Ditian Divine Guards was divided into several rounds. The first round would be this 1,000-step jade stairway. Only by climbing it could one become a preparatory Emperor Sky Divine Guard. After climbing the 1,000-step jade staircase, there was another test. Only by passing the next test could one become a true Emperor Sky Divine Guard. There was no one around. Lu Ming speculated that they should be in the inscription array. The 1,000-step jade staircase in front of him was most likely condensed by an inscription formation. Let's see what's so special about this 1,000-step jade staircase. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Buzz! As soon as Lu Ming stepped on it, a huge force between heaven and earth pressed down on him. What? Lu Ming's body trembled slightly and he offset this force. This power not only affects the physical body, but also the genuine qi in the body. Even the mind is under pressure. Lu Ming's heart moved and he was secretly amazed. However, although this force was strong, it was like a Buddha's face in the spring breeze to Lu Ming. He did not feel much. Ta! Lu Ming walked up step by step. His body was straight and he was as unmoving as a mountain. Very quickly, he had stepped over 100 jade steps. He discovered that the higher he went, the greater the pressure he felt. However, such pressure was nothing to Lu Ming. Lu Ming walked faster and faster. One by one, he stepped on the jade stairs. In just a few minutes, Lu Ming had reached the 1,000-step jade staircase. Above the 1,000-step jade staircase was a platform. In front of the platform was a stone door. The stone door was open and there was a flash of light. The scene behind the stone door could not be seen clearly. Behind this stone door was the second round of assessment. After passing this round of assessment, one would be able to become a true Ditian Divine Guard. On the left side of the platform, there was a vortex, which was the teleportation gate. If one felt that they were not strong enough and could not pass the second round, they could leave this vortex and naturally be transported to the corresponding location. If one wanted to try, it was also possible. It was said that there wouldn't be any real danger. If there was really a crisis, the formation would teleport the person away to the area where the Emperor's Sky Divine Guards were prepared. That person would be considered to have failed the trial. At this time, there was a huge circular building in the 10,000 Stars city. It covered an area of thousands of acres and could accommodate millions of people at the same time. This building was like a coliseum, but it was divided into 4 areas by 2 intersecting light screens. It was like a piece of cake that had been cut into 4 fan-shaped areas. They were the north, south, east, and west areas. The 4 areas did not see each other, and their vision was blocked by the light screen. The eastern region was divided into 5 levels according to their distribution. At the center of the fan shape was the first level, and there was a fighting ring. The outer ring of the battle stage was the second level. There was a stone tablet with the words, Ditien Divine Guard written on it. On the third level, there was also a stone tablet with the words, Reserve Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard written on it. Further out, the fourth level was not written at all. Further out were rows of seats. This area was the largest, just like the outermost ring of a cake. Now, all the seats were full. It was densely packed with people. No one knew how many people there were. Among these seats, there was a rather special seat. This seat was occupied by the leading elders of each region. Lu Xiu, the leading elder of the Cloud Emperor mountain range, was sitting inside. Beside him were Zhao Sui, the leader of the Thousand River region, and Han Sun, the leader of the Nether Demon Palace. Their eyes were fixed on the empty area of the few levels below. Those few levels of regions were engraved with profound inscription formations that led to the ancient battlefield of the Netherworld. As long as someone climbed the 1,000-step jade stairs and chose to walk into that vortex, they would be teleported to the Reserve Empyrean Heavenly Divine Guard area. As for those who chose to continue the challenge but failed, they would also be teleported to the Emperor's Sky Divine Guard Reserve area, which meant that they could only become one Reserve Emperor Sky Divine Guard. By the same logic, as long as one became an Empyrean Sky Divine Guard, they would be teleported to the Empyrean Sky Divine Guard area. As for those who had not even become the Emperor Sky Divine Guards, all those who had failed would be sent to the open space on the 4th level. Hehe, Lu Xiu, you don't have to stare at me so intently. It's useless even if your eyes explode. I reckon that everyone in the Cloud Emperor mountain range has died. Let alone becoming an Emperor Sky Divine Guard or a Reserve Emperor Sky Divine Guard, I'm afraid that there won't even be many who can come out alive. Zhao Sui, the elder leading the team of the Thousand River region, suddenly said coldly. Lu Xiu's face darkened and he said, Zhao Sui, she hasn't come out yet. No one knows what the result will be. Aren't you afraid of hurting your tongue by saying this now? Tongue. Ha, what a joke. I'm sure of that. Those useless people in the Cloud Emperor mountain range will definitely die unless they find a place to hide. Zhao Sui said with a cold smile. You. Lu Xiu's expression was unsightly. Zhao Sui, you're speaking too early. Every year, there are geniuses from small regions who join the Ditien Divine Guards. On the side, the elders from the other smaller districts spoke up for Lu Xiu. Hehe, a bunch of trash that only knows how to console themselves. I feel that Brother Zhao is right. Trash from a small region should be better off dead. To think that they want to compete with us from a large region for the position of the Emperor Sky Divine Guard. They really don't know their own limits. A faint voice was heard. It was Han Sun, the elder leading the team of the Dark Demon Palace. His words were full of contempt, which made the leading elders of several small areas on the side look extremely ugly. Ha, you're right, Brother Han. Lu Xiu, if you want to watch, then continue. I'm afraid the more you watch, the more despair you'll feel. Zhao Sui revealed a mocking smile. Someone's coming out. Someone suddenly shouted. In the open space of the 4th level, people kept appearing. The people who had appeared all had looks of disappointment and unwillingness on their faces. Those who appeared in this area had failed and were completely eliminated. The elders' faces didn't change much. In every region, a large number of people would be eliminated. This wasn't surprising. What they were paying attention to was how many people would appear in the Reserve Empyrean Heavenly Divine Guard area and the Empyrean Heavenly Divine Guard area. After a short while, there was finally some movement in the area where the Emperor Sky Divine Guards were in reserve. A figure appeared in a flash. Ha, he's a genius from my region. I knew that this brat would be able to become a Reserve Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard. An elder leader of a small district laughed excitedly. Following that, more and more people were teleported out of the area where the Detian Divine Guards were being prepared. Jiang Hongwen, Shengguan Yunyan. Suddenly, Lu Xiu's eyes lit up. He saw Jiang Hongwen and Shengguan Yunyan in the area where the Emperor Heaven Divine Guards were preparing to be stationed. Lu Xiu's face was filled with joy. Jiang Hongwen and Shengguan Yunyan were ranked 3rd and 4th respectively on the Cloud Emperor ranking list. It was within his expectations that they could become Reserve Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards. However, there were always accidents. He was really afraid that, as Xiao Sui had said, all the geniuses of the Cloud Emperor mountain range had fallen in the ancient battlefield of the Netherworld. When he saw the two of them, he was naturally overjoyed. Ha, Xiao Sui, it seems that not a single Detian Divine Guard has appeared in your Thousand River region. Lu Xiu felt much more at ease now that two of them were on the way to becoming Emperor Sky Divine Guards. He looked at Xiao Sui and mocked him. Chapter 420. 420 Chapter 420 Challenge. Humph. Xiao Sui snorted coldly, his face gloomy. What's the hurry? It's still early. When the geniuses of the Thousand River region appear, you'll be scared to death. Oh. Then I'll wait. Lu Xiu laughed. As time passed, the number of people who appeared in the Reserve Emperor Sky Divine Guard area gradually increased. However, Xiao Sui's expression became more and more unsightly. There were only a few people from the Thousand River region, which was not much better than the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Ha, Xiao Sui, there are so many of you. You really scared me to death. Lu Xiu said sarcastically. In the past, Xiao Sui had laughed at him from time to time. Now that he had the chance, Lu Xiu naturally retaliated. Why are you so anxious? Xiao Sui said with a gloomy face. Oh. Xiao Sui, it's almost time for the assessment to be completed, but I haven't seen many people. Do you really think that all the geniuses from your Thousand River region can become real Detian Divine Guards? Lu Xiu sneered. Giggle. Xiao Sui gritted his teeth. However, he was also very anxious. He knew very well that there were only a dozen or so people in the Thousand River region who could challenge the Detian Divine Guards. There were still 40 to 50 people who could attempt to become the Reserve Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards. But now, there were quite a few people who were eliminated, but they were all just bystanders. However, there were only a few of them who could make it to the Emperor Sky Divine Guard Reserve. He was a little flustered, afraid that something would happen. Han Sun, the leader of the Nether Demon Palace, also had an ugly expression on his face. This was because the situation of the Nether Demon Palace was the same as the Thousand River Waters. There were only a few who were ready to become the Emperor Sky Divine Guards. At the place of the assessment, on the 1,000-step jade staircase, Lu Ming pondered for a moment and walked toward the stone door. As soon as he entered, the environment changed again, and he found himself on a platform. In front of him was a middle-aged man with a long spear on his back. He stood there like a straight mountain. You. As long as you can defeat me, you'll be able to become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard. The middle-aged man said, his voice cold and emotionless. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He could tell that this burly man was formed by inscriptions. Boom. As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, a powerful aura exploded from his body. Peak of the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He sighed inwardly at the difficulty of the Ditian Divine Guard examination. In order to defeat an ordinary 9th level martial ancestor realm expert, one's cultivation had to be at the peak of the 7th level martial ancestor realm. One's combat strength had to surpass a World War II expert. Of course, if he was a 3 or 4 battle genius, then his cultivation could be lower. In the Cloud Emperor mountain range, only Jian Fengyun can achieve such a level of difficulty. Young Master Tian Shi was already dead. Jiang Hongwen's cultivation had not reached the peak of the 7th level of martial ancestor realm, so he basically had no chance. Kill! All of a sudden, the middle-aged burly man bellowed and became one with his spear. The long spear in his hand turned into a bolt of lightning and stabbed toward Lu Ming. Fast, accurate, and ruthless. Lu Ming smiled. He quickly condensed a long spear in his hand and thrust it out. Whoosh! This spear attack was more than twice as fast as the other party. Bang! The spear pierced through the middle-aged man's chest. The middle-aged man's entire body exploded and dissipated into energy. A martial arts Grandmaster 9 Dan Peak was dealt with in one move. To the current Lu Ming, this was not difficult at all. Lu Ming smiled and walked forward. In front of the platform was another stone door, and on the left was a vortex. As long as they gave up on the challenge, they would be able to leave the vortex and become the Ditian Divine Guards. Entering through the stone door meant continuing the challenge. If the challenge was successful, the challenger would appear on the fighting ring on the first level of the huge building in the Myriad Star City. There, the battle of the strongest would take place and the 4 divine guards would be decided. Since Lu Ming and the others were in the eastern region, they were naturally the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. The building was divided into 4 parts, north, south, east and west, representing the 4 heavenly divine guards. Becoming one of the 4 divine guards could be said to be the strongest expert among the younger generation in the entire eastern region of the Tianxian region. There were many benefits, and they were also the biggest focus of the event. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people in that building. Lu Ming stepped through the stone door without any hesitation. Buzz! Heaven and earth shook. Lu Ming found himself in a secret room. There were more than a dozen stone carvings on the walls of the secret room. Each stone carving was a person practicing martial arts. This was a martial technique. Other than that, there was nothing else. Suddenly, there was a flash of light, and the figure of an old man condensed. Welcome to the challenge. This round is to test your comprehension ability. Everyone will appear in a secret room, but the test will be different for each person. There will be a martial technique that you are not good at, and you will be able to comprehend it. As long as you can successfully cultivate it within half an hour, you will pass this round. The moment the old man appeared, he immediately started explaining. A fist technique? Lu Ming's heart stirred. Fist techniques were indeed his weakness. Other than the low-level fist technique he had practiced in the beginning, he had not practiced any more fist techniques. This fist technique is a black-grade high-level fist technique. You only need to cultivate to the first level within half an hour, the first glimpse of the door seal. Begin now. After the old man finished speaking, his figure disappeared. It was not easy to cultivate a black-grade high-level martial arts technique that he was not good at to the first stage within half an hour. Immediately, Lu Ming began to study the stone carvings in detail and began to comprehend them. Time slowly passed. In the outside world, in the huge building of the Myriad Stars City, someone has become a Ditian Divine Guard. Suddenly, a light flashed in the Ditian Divine Guard's area, and a figure appeared. Ha, it's a genius from our Jinkui region. An elder leader laughed out loud. The Jinkui region was a small region, and having one person become an Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard was already breaking even. If there was one more person, it would be a breakthrough. Moreover, he was the first to become an Empyrean Sky Divine Guard. Although being the first to become an Dityan Divine Guard didn't mean that one's strength was stronger than the others, there might be some people who wanted to challenge the next trials. As more and more people became Dityan Divine Guards, more and more people became Dityan Divine Guards. Sword Wind Cloud. Suddenly, Lu Xiu's eyes lit up. He saw Jian Fengyun in the Dityan Divine Guards area. Ha ha ha, you didn't let me down. Lu Xiu laughed heartily. He was well aware of the strength of the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Jian Fengyun still had a very high chance of becoming an Emperor Sky Divine Guard. As for young Master Tian Shi and Jiang Hongwen, it could only be said that there was hope, but not much hope. Now that Jian Fengyun had become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard, he could finally relax. No matter how weak they were, at least one of them had become an Empyrean Heaven Divine Guard. One had to know that in the Cloud Emperor mountain range, no one had become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard in the previous tournament. If one of them became a Dityan Divine Guard, he would still be able to obtain some rewards. Chapter 421. 421 The Last Stage. On the other hand, Zhao Sui's face was so dark that it almost turned into black charcoal. Even now, he had yet to see a single figure of the geniuses from the Thousand River region in the Dityan Divine Guards area. This made the bad feeling in his heart grow stronger and stronger. This was not normal, it was too abnormal. Could it be that all the geniuses of the Thousand River region had passed the last round? That was impossible. He knew very well that even the most powerful young man in the Thousand River region might not be able to make it through. He was extremely anxious. Just like Zhao Sui, the elder leading the team in the UMO Palace, Han Sun, also had a terrible look on his face. As time passed, the number of people who appeared in the Dityan Divine Guards area grew fewer and fewer. Zhao Sui, why do you look so pale? In my opinion, the geniuses of the Thousand River region must have gone to the last stage. And they must have passed it. It would be a glorious thing to see a group of people on the first level of the fighting ring. Lu Xiu said with a smile. Shut up, Lu. Zhao Sui's eyes turned red. Lu Xiu was mocking him. How could there be so many people in the Thousand River region who could pass the last level? Even if there was one, he would laugh his head off. Ha, calm down, calm down. Lu Xiu laughed out loud, almost causing Zhao Sui to vomit blood. It seems like the geniuses of the Thousand River region died in battle. I wonder which powerful region did it. I really have to thank them. Lu Xiu thought. Lu Xiu was elated to see Zhao Sui in such a state. In the past, it was the opposite. Very quickly, half an hour had passed. Many people could no longer sit still. How is that possible? Why are there so few geniuses in Phoenix Lake? Us too. Where are our people from Flaming Mountain? Arg. Only 4 people from my Yangchuan Valley region have become Emperor Sky Divine Guards. That's impossible. Loud roars rang out. Half an hour had passed. Even if he managed to clear the next level, he should have failed and come out. However, he had yet to come out, which meant that he had most likely fallen in the Eastern Nether Ancient battlefield. Among them, the team-leading elders of the Phoenix Lake area, the Yangchuan Valley area, and the Flaming Mountain area were the loudest. They were a super region, and geniuses were as numerous as the clouds. At the very least, there would be 34 people who could become the Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards. But now, there were only 2 or 3 of them. This meant that the geniuses of these regions had died in batches in the Eastern Nether Ancient battlefield. Some were happy, some were worried. Some of the elders who were leading the teams from other regions were all smiles because their regions had achieved so much success that they had even exceeded their expectations. This time, 820 Dityan Divine Guards have already appeared. It's a little more than the previous years. This generation is truly full of geniuses. Not bad. In the past, 500 people were already considered good. Adding up the north, south, east, and west, it's already very good to have 2,000 people. This time, it's far more. Now, let's see how many people can get past the final checkpoint and reach the first level of the fighting ring. I estimate that there will be more than Tulavir. We have 13 super regions on our side. The strongest person in each super region should be able to make it to the end. Not necessarily. Maybe there's a super dark horse. Just wait and see. Look, there's a fluctuation on the first level's battle platform. Someone has passed the last level and is about to appear. Who is it? At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the fighting ring at the bottom. Buzz! The space trembled, and a young figure appeared. This young man was dressed in a blood-red robe. His face was pale and cold. He was Zhang Sheng from the Dragon Burial Abyss. Who was this person? I don't think he's from any of the 13 super regions. He's actually the first one to succeed. Could it be that he's able to suppress the geniuses of the super regions? The crowd was in a heated discussion. Especially the elders who were leading the teams, they were all making guesses. Ha, this man is the peerless genius of our Dragon Burial Abyss. Zhang Sheng. Suddenly, a maniacal laugh was heard. What? The people of the Dragon Burial Abyss, the Dragon Burial Abyss has appeared? I didn't expect that the Dragon Burial Abyss would have such a genius the moment it appeared. It's really amazing. What? The surrounding spectators all exclaimed. Below, on the fighting ring, once Zhang Sheng appeared, he swept his gaze around. When he realized that he was alone, his face revealed a look of ecstasy. Ha, this time, the Eastern Sky Divine Guards of the 4 Sky Divine Guards will definitely be mine. Zhang Sheng roared in his heart. Someone else has appeared. Someone shouted. On the fighting ring, there was another fluctuation, and then a figure appeared. Qiu Changkong. The second figure to appear was actually Qiu Changkong. Lu Xiu was stunned. Then, his body trembled with excitement as he roared, Ha, this is the genius of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, the genius of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. Lu Xiu had never expected that someone would actually make it to the last stage. Lu Xiu's roar immediately caused an uproar. What? A genius from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range? How was that possible? The Cloud Emperor Mountain Range was a place where even birds don't want to shit. How could someone make it to the last stage? Don't lie to me. I don't believe it either. The surroundings were filled with discussions. No, that's impossible. Zhao Sui roared. He had seen Qiu Changkong before, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. The moment Qiu Changkong appeared, he swept his gaze over the crowd. When he saw Zhang Sheng, he snorted coldly and a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. He actually appeared faster than him. Zhang Sheng did not back down and looked back coldly. At this moment, in a secret room in the assessment venue. Die! Lu Ming shouted as he punched continuously. His fists were so powerful that they disappeared with a loud boom. Lu Ming stood still as he retracted his fists. The next moment, the old man's figure appeared again. Congratulations, you've passed this round. There's still one last round. The old man waved his hand, and the scene changed again. Lu Ming realized that he had appeared on another platform. In front of him, there was a middle-aged man with a spear on his back. He looked exactly the same as the burly man from before. However, the aura that this middle-aged burly man exuded this time was extremely terrifying. It was several times stronger than before. Half-step King Warrior, this time it was actually half-step King Warrior. The peak of Martial Ancestor Realm and half-step King Realm seemed to be only one step away, but the gap was huge. If one had to describe the difference, an ordinary half-step King was at least 2 levels higher than a peak 9th level Martial Ancestor. Yes, more than 2 levels. As long as you can defeat me, you'll pass. The middle-aged man said. Lu Ming sighed to himself. This level was too difficult. He reckoned that not many people would pass it. One had to be at least at the peak of the 8th level of the martial ancestor realm. Furthermore, one had to be a 4-battle genius to pass. Kill! All of a sudden, the middle-aged man bellowed. His long spear was like a dragon as it charged at Lu Ming. The spear's gleam burst out and enveloped Lu Ming's entire body. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste any more time. He immediately cast the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. Chapter 422. For 22 Chapter 422 Clear the stage, killing intent. Boom! A terrifying power burst forth, as if it could shatter everything. The first to bear the brunt was the spear radiance. With a loud boom, the spear radiance exploded, and then, a turbulent force gushed forward. Bang! The middle-aged man's body cracked and turned into dust under the majestic attack of the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. One move, just one move and a half-step king was killed by Lu Ming. More than half a year ago, during the war with the mystical sword sect, a half-step king was still an undefeatable existence to Lu Ming. He was high and mighty, and in the blazing Sun Empire, he was a well-deserved tyrant. But now, only a little more than half a year had passed and Lu Ming could kill a half-step king in one move. Who would believe it? In the past 6 months, Lu Ming's progress could be described as lightning fast. The middle-aged man collapsed and disappeared into energy. After that, the platform started to glow and a black vortex formed. Lu Ming smiled and stepped in. After a moment of dizziness, Lu Ming realized that he was in a fighting ring after everything had settled down. Several other directions of the fighting ring were blocked by a light curtain. Only the eastern side had a fan-shaped spectator stand, which was full of people. At that moment, Lu Xiu's eyes widened as he stared at the fighting ring below. Then, his body began to tremble, and even his breathing became heavy. Hey, Lu Xiu, what's wrong? Why are you shaking? Don't tell me he's suddenly possessed. An elder leader from a small district asked Lu Xiu in confusion. No, I'm not scared. I'm scared because I saw another person pass the last stage in my Cloud Emperor mountain range. I'm so excited. Lu Xiu stuttered. It's good that you're fine. The elder in charge nodded. The next moment, he seemed to have realized something. His eyes widened and he looked at Lu Xiu in disbelief. What? What did you just say? Another person from the Cloud Emperor mountain range passed the last stage. You're not joking, are you? How is that possible? His eyes were filled with disbelief. It's true, it's true. Although I'm also surprised, it's true. Lu Xiu said in a trembling voice. In fact, even he himself found it hard to believe. Lu Xiu's words naturally reached the ears of the people around him, but most of them shook their heads and were skeptical. How could 2 people pass the last level in the small Cloud Emperor mountain range? This had never happened before. Occasionally, a person from a small area would pass through. That was still possible, as it had happened before in history. It must be known that in most super large areas, only one person could pass through. Sometimes, no one could. However, there was one exception, and that was the elder leading the team at the Thousand River region, Zhao Sui. At this moment, his body was trembling slightly, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Others might not have seen Lu Ming, but he had. Of course, he knew that Lu Ming was from the Cloud Emperor mountain range. There were actually 2 people who had passed the last stage in the Cloud Emperor mountain range, while only 1 or 2 people from the Thousand River region had become the Emperor Sky Divine Guards. Those geniuses who were ranked higher had all disappeared. Comparing the two, the waters of the Thousand River were too tragic to look at. How could this be? How did this happen? Zhao Sui kept growling, his eyes red. He could not accept this fact. The geniuses from the Thousand River region had yet to appear. He knew that they had most likely fallen. Jiang Hongwen and Shengguan Yunyan, who were in the area of the Emperor's Sky Divine Guards, also widened their eyes. Lu Xuan, Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. He also passed the last level. How is this possible? Jiang Hongwen shouted in disbelief. He rubbed his eyes hard, thinking that he was seeing things. However, he almost rubbed his eyes until they bled. He was still looking at Lu Ming. Lu Ming has become so powerful. No wonder Jian Fengyun is so nice to him. I'm so silly. I should have thought of this earlier. Jiang Hongwen muttered. At the thought of how he had advised Lu Ming to hide far away from Chiu Changkong before they entered the assessment venue, he felt his face burning. Lu Ming's abilities were probably not much weaker than Chiu Changkong's. They might even be geniuses on the same level. In particular, when he thought of how he did not treat Lu Ming well previously, he felt uneasy. He wished that he could give himself a slap. If Lu Ming bore a grudge because of this, he would have a hard time in the future. In the Ditian Divine Guards area, Jian Fengyun smiled. He was not surprised that Lu Ming could pass the last level. Of course, Lu Ming did not know what these people were thinking. He swept his gaze across and sized up his surroundings. He discovered that there were already 7 to 8 figures on the platform. Kid, it's you. You didn't die. Suddenly, a cold voice with a hint of disbelief was heard. Lu Ming looked in the direction of the voice and a cold smile appeared on his face. The person who spoke was Zhang Sheng from the Dragon Burial Abyss. At that moment, Zhang Sheng was looking at him with a face full of killing intent. If you're not dead, how could I be? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Zhang Sheng's eyes flickered and he said coldly, good, very good. Although I don't know what method you used to escape with your life, you shouldn't have rushed here this time. Hee, I hope you don't run into me. Otherwise, I'll suck all the blood in your body. Oh, really? I'm afraid you don't have that ability. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming. At this moment, a low growl came from the other side. Lu Ming looked over, his eyes filled with killing intent. Chiu Changkong. To be honest, Chiu Changkong's appearance here was beyond Lu Ming's expectations. It seems like it must be related to his master. Lu Ming thought to himself. Lu Ming, I really didn't expect that not only did you not die in the Eastern Nether Ancient battlefield, but you actually made it here. It's really beyond my expectations. But this is also good. It saves me the trouble of looking for your old ghost father, and I can directly take action on you. Chiu Changkong glared at Lu Ming, his voice filled with killing intent. Alright, let's settle our grudges this time. Lu Ming's killing intent was also extremely strong. Boom. 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 Many powerful auras rose up and confronted each other. The final battle had yet to begin, but Lu Ming and Chiu Changkong were already sparring in the midst of death. Now, the battle hasn't started yet. You're not allowed to fight. At this time, a majestic voice came from the sky. A figure had appeared in the sky without anyone knowing. It was a middle-aged burly man with a monstrous aura. His aura was scorching hot. He stood in the void like a sun, burning the void until it distorted. A terrifying and boundless pressure emanated from his body. Countless people's expressions changed drastically. This was definitely a king tier, and even among king tiers, he wasn't weak. Chapter 423. 423 The Eastern Sky Divine Guards. He's the protector of the Fire Palace of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Someone called out, recognizing the burly man. What? The protector of the Fire Palace of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? Everyone was shocked. The guardians of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace were extremely powerful figures with the ability to destroy the heavens and earth. They were definitely famous figures in the eastern region of the Tianxian region. Of course, the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace here wasn't the main palace but the eastern branch of the heavenly mystic region. On the battle stage, Zhang Sheng and Qiu Changkong snorted coldly and retracted their auras. Lu Ming sneered and retracted his aura. Buzz! At this moment, the space trembled again, and a figure carrying a long sword appeared. Xian Feng of the ancient barren city. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. Lu Ming did not see Xian Feng's corpse in the underground cave of the Dragon's Cave. As expected, he was still alive. With Xian Feng's combat strength, it was no problem for him to make it to the last level. You're courting death. A cold voice rang out as Zhang Sheng's sinister eyes turned to Xian Feng. Buzz! The sound of a sword rang out, and a powerful sword qi rippled from Xian Feng's body. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at Zhang Sheng. Hee, they've all appeared. Good, this time, I'll settle them all. Zhang Sheng sneered. Xian Feng also saw the protector of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace in the sky. He retracted his aura and walked to the side. The audience was extremely excited. Between these geniuses, the stronger the smell of gunpowder, the more excited they were, because the upcoming battle would also be more intense. The fighting ring was silent. Time slowly passed. The space in the fighting ring trembled from time to time. Someone appeared. Very quickly, the number of people had increased to over a dozen. Half an hour later, no one else appeared. All right, time's up. There are no more participants in the assessment area. The protector of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace announced in the sky. No, how is that possible? Phoenix Lake's geniuses, why are there only so few of them? Where's Huang Qixuan, where did he go? Maiyang Spring Valley too, where's Sun Chu? Protector, did you make a mistake? Bu Fifan of my Flaming Mountain Range is a peerless talent. He will definitely make it to the last level. Why isn't he here? The leading elders of Phoenix Lake, Yangchuan Valley, Flaming Mountain, and even another super region all shouted in disbelief. What are you shouting for? If he doesn't appear, it means he has fallen inside. It means that he doesn't have enough talent and luck. What's so strange about that? The middle-aged guardian rebuked as he looked coldly at the elders leading the teams. The few elder leaders immediately kept quiet out of fear. They felt cold all over and did not dare to say a word. All right, the previous assessment has ended. Now, let's start the final battle. The purpose of the battle is to determine the final 4 divine guards of the East Sky. I'm sure all of you know what the Eastern Heaven Divine Guards are. I'll repeat myself here. When you were teleported into the Eastern Nether Ancient battlefield, you were automatically distributed in 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. The teleportation altar behind you is also divided into 4 directions, corresponding to the north, south, east, and west. Your group belongs to the east. Therefore, the strongest person will be the Eastern Heaven Divine Guards. The 4 Heavens Divine Guards represent the 4 strongest experts in this batch of Emperor Heaven's Divine Guards. There will be generous rewards. The middle-aged protector explained in detail. Everyone nodded. This was something that many people already knew. So, for this battle, the second or third place is not important. What's important is the first place. I'll say it again. What's important is the first place. The middle-aged protector shouted, his voice spreading through the entire area. On the platform, all the young men's eyes were shining, and a strong desire to fight rose from their bodies. There were a total of 17 young men and women on the fighting ring. Each of them was a genius among geniuses, and each of them had rare talents. They had absolute confidence in themselves. They were confident that they were stronger than others. This time, the Eastern Sky Divine Guards are mine. A deep voice rang out. It came from a tall and burly young man. This person was more than 2 meters tall, and his entire body was covered in muscles, as if he was cast from steel. Tai Kuangzhong, it's fine if you're the overlord of the Iron Peak area, but you're dreaming if you think you can become the Eastern Sky Divine Guard here. The Eastern Sky Divine Guard is mine. A beautiful woman with blue hair said in a domineering manner. Ha, Ao Feishuan, I think you'd better go home and have a child. You want to take over the East Heaven Divine Guards? The burly young man sneered. What did you just say? The blue-haired beauty, Ao Feishuan, widened her eyes. A bunch of trash wants to take over the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. You're daydreaming. Zhang Sheng curled his lips and sneered. Arrogant. You're looking for death. Zhang Sheng's words infuriated the crowd. More than 10 young experts looked at him with killing intent. Zhang Sheng smiled indifferently. All right, I'm done. At this moment, the middle-aged guardian spoke. Everyone shut their mouths. Take this jade plate. The middle-aged guardian waved his hand and 17 jade plates flew out, one for each of them. Everyone took the jade token in their hands. Now, inscribe your information into the jade tokens. I'm going to draw lots with this jade token later. The middle-aged man ordered. Everyone's mind moved and engraved their own information into the jade token. Then, he returned them to the middle-aged guardian one by one. The middle-aged guardian picked up the jade tablet and read it aloud. This time, a total of 17 people have passed the final stage. They are Zhang Sheng from the Dragon Burial Pool, Qiu Changkong from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, Tai Kuangzhong from the Iron Peak, Lu Ming from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, Ao Feishuan from the Jade Lake region. The middle-aged man read out the names one by one, and in a few moments, he had finished reading all 17 names. As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, the crowd burst into an uproar. Wait, did I hear wrong? I seem to have heard that there are 2 people from the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. That poor and remote place. You didn't hear wrong, I heard it too, this is too fucking weird, 2 people actually cleared the level in the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. Is the sun rising from the west? The small Cloud Emperor Mountain Range is really crazy this time. The spectators in the stands discussed animatedly and were extremely shocked. As for the elders in charge of each region, they were all dumbfounded and shocked. In the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, there were 2 people who passed the level. Previously, they thought that Lu Xiu was talking nonsense. He didn't expect it to be true. This was really unbelievable. Lu Xiu was trembling with excitement. The tiny Cloud King Mountain Range actually produced 2 such geniuses. This time, his reward would definitely be terrifying. Brother Lu, don't forget me when you're successful in the future. Brother Lu, when this selection is over, I'll treat you to a meal at the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Brother Lu, you must come and visit me. Immediately, some of the other elder team leaders beside Lu Xiu, and even some of the elder team leaders from the larger regions, expressed their goodwill to Lu Xiu. Lu Xiu was so excited that he almost laughed. He had never felt so happy before. Chapter 424. 424 Good Luck. Lu Xiu could not help but burst out laughing. It was simply too comfortable. In the past, he was only a team leader of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. He was at the bottom of the group and was often ridiculed. However, the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range was on the weaker side, and no one had become an Emperor Sky Divine Guard in the previous tournament. This made him less and less valued. He had once dreamed that the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range would produce a few peerless geniuses whose names would shake the world and make him proud. However, he knew that it was just a dream. It was impossible. But now, all of this had come true. How could he not be excited? Those people who had looked down on him in the past had all come to make friends with him. Lu Ming, Qiu Changkong, it's all thanks to the two of you. Lu Xiu sighed as he looked at the two young men on the fighting ring with bright eyes. He was especially shocked by Lu Ming. Qiu Changkong. He vaguely knew that Qiu Changkong had a powerful backer in the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. It was still acceptable for him to achieve such results. However, Lu Ming was completely alone. He did not have any backing. He had relied on his own hard work to reach this stage. This made him value him even more. Everyone was discussing, but most of the discussions were about Lu Ming and Qiu Changkong. Cloud Emperor Mountain Range. On the fighting ring, the other geniuses and experts looked at Lu Ming and Qiu Changkong with surprise in their eyes. The corners of Qiu Changkong's mouth curled up, and he didn't even try to hide the smugness on his face. Lu Ming only smiled and stood quietly at the side. Silence. The middle-aged protector opened his mouth and the entire place suddenly became silent. Now, I will announce the rules of the duel. The rules are very simple. We will draw lots and fight one-on-one. The winner will advance and the loser will be eliminated. This will continue until the strongest one is decided. In the process of the battle, you can't consume any pills or use any battle beasts. You can do whatever you want, but there is one principle, and that is you can't kill your opponent. The middle-aged protector announced. Can't kill the opponent? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He felt that it was a pity. If he had met Qiu Changkong, he would have been able to escape with his life. Hee, Lu Ming, you're lucky. At the side, Buried Life chuckled. You're the lucky one. Lu Ming said. Oh, really? Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because I can't kill you. I can still cripple you. Zhang Xing's cold voice rang out. Is that so? Lu Ming sneered. On the other side, Qiu Changkong sneered. Okay, now, I have carved 16 numbers on these 17 jade plates. They are number 1 to number 16. The last one is empty. All of you will draw lots. The one who draws number 1 will fight against number 16, number 2 will fight against number 15, number 3 will fight against number 14, and so on. The one who draws an empty number will directly advance to the next round. The middle-aged man said. With that, he waved his hand and 17 jade plates floated in the air. They emitted a hazy light and covered the numbers on them. I'll go first. Zhang Xing laughed coldly and reached out his hand. A powerful suction force was produced and the jade token was caught in his hand. Then, the others followed suit and grabbed a jade plate. Lu Ming also grabbed a jade card. Grabbing the jade token in his hand, he infused his Jinqi into it, and a number appeared on the jade token. No, it was not a number, but 2 words, empty. Lu Ming was stunned. He did not expect his luck to be so good. In the first round, he actually drew an empty draw. All right, report the number you drew. The middle-aged protector said. I'm number 16. Zhang Sheng was the first to walk out. He flipped open the jade token and there was a number on it, 16. I'll be number 3. Qiu Changkong walked out and opened his jade token as well. The number on the token was 3. I'm number 5. Number 6. One by one, the young men flipped open their jade tokens. Soon, he had opened all the pages from room 1 to room 16. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Ming. If there were people from the 1st to the 16th, then wouldn't the rest be a bye? Lu Ming smiled and flipped the jade tablet. The words, bye, were written on it. It's a bye as expected. This kid's luck is really good. His luck is not bad, but it's useless. In the end, it still depends on strength. If he doesn't have strength, he will be very miserable when he meets an expert in the next round. That's true. On the grandstand, the crowd was in a heated discussion. Brat, you're lucky. Zhang Sheng cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. This time, Lu Ming could not even be bothered to look at him. He directly ignored him. This was a mad dog. There was no point in saying more. When the time came, he would beat him up so badly that even his mother wouldn't be able to recognize him. Now, the battle begins. Number 1 against number 16. The rest of you, step aside. The middle-aged protector announced. Lu Ming and the rest retreated to the side, leaving only Zhang Sheng and a young man in a brocade robe at the scene. Zhang Sheng's face revealed a sinister smile as he stared at the youth in embroidered robes and said, "Kid, I advise you to admit defeat quickly. Otherwise, you'll suffer later." Admit defeat. In my dictionary, there is no such thing as admitting defeat. I've long been displeased by your arrogance. I hope that your strength will not disappoint me. The youth in the brocade robe laughed arrogantly. You'll regret this very soon. Zhang Sheng sneered. The atmosphere was already tense even before they started fighting. In the stands, the crowd was also in a heated discussion, expressing their own opinions. That's Yu Changfei, the strongest genius of the Yushu Plain in the super region. Who do you think will win? I think it's the burial in the dragon burial pool. This person is the first to pass the test and appear here. In my opinion, that might not be the case. Being the first to clear the stage might not necessarily mean that one's combat strength is the strongest. That's true. Boom. Boom. Everyone was just discussing when two powerful auras erupted. Then, the two figures charged at each other like lightning. Jade Cutting Palm. Blood Dragon Claw. Boom. With a loud boom, a terrifying blast of air swept out. Blood red and jade green light exploded and filled the entire fighting ring. Bang! The next moment, a scream was heard. A figure was sent flying like a cannonball, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood in the air. It was Yu Changfei, the young man from Yushu Plain. Countless people widened their eyes. Yu Changfei, the strongest genius in the super region, was sent flying by one move and spat out blood. How was this possible? From the aura that Yu Changfei had just released, he was definitely at the peak of the 8th level of the martial ancestor realm. Furthermore, he had been through 4 battles. Such an expert was actually sent flying by a single move from Zhang Sheng. How terrifying was Zhang Sheng? I was wondering how strong you would be. Turns out you're just trash. Now, I'll let you know how strong I am. Zhang Sheng laughed coldly. Then, he moved his body and appeared above Yu Changfei like a ghost. He stared at Yu Changfei with a cold gaze. Return it. Yu Changfei was shocked. He used all his strength and sent out 7 palm strikes. The palm strikes were crystal clear and like jade. However, Burial only needed a few claw strikes to destroy the jade palm force. He grabbed Yu Changkong's neck and pressed down hard. Chapter 425. 425 Chapter 425 Red Flame Dark Thunder. Bang! Yu Changkong's entire body slammed into the fighting ring, causing the entire fighting ring to rumble. Yu Changkong spat out mouthfuls of blood. Trash, you're just trash. You're just a piece of trash, yet you're still so arrogant. You're really looking for death. Zhang Sheng sneered. He then kicked Yu Changfei's head. Yu Changfei's body flew out like a broken sack and fell off the fighting ring. After falling off the fighting ring, he fainted. Boom! In the stands, an old man stood up and roared, Zhang Sheng, your methods are too vicious. Yu Changfei has clearly lost, yet you still used such a heavy blow. You've violated the rules. This old man was the elder leading the team in the Jade Virtual Plane. Old man, what are you shouting for? I didn't kill him, so how is that against the rules? Zhang Sheng sneered. You fuck. The elder leading the team of Yushu Plain turned red and looked at the middle-aged protector. Protector, is this against the rules? Not dead, doesn't count. The middle-aged protector's answer was very simple, which made the elder leading the team of the Yushu Plain stunned. Then, he sat down with an ashen face. Zhang Sheng's smile became even more smug. This Zhang Sheng is indeed terrifying. As expected of the genius who was the first to break through the barrier. His cultivation has definitely reached the 9th level of the martial ancestor realm. And it's not as simple as the early or middle stage of the 9th level. He didn't even use his full strength just now. Everyone was discussing. At the edge of the fighting ring, the other geniuses and experts were also looking at Zhang Sheng with a grave expression. Burial's combat strength gave them a lot of pressure. This burial has improved so much during this period of time. It must be related to the blood of Bu Fifan and the other geniuses. Lu Ming's heart stirred. When he was in the dragon's cave, Zhang Sheng's strength should be similar to Huang Qixuan, Bu Fifan and the others. He should also be similar to Yu Changfei. But now, he was much stronger than before. No wonder he was so arrogant. Zhang Sheng from the Dragon Burial Abyss is the winner of this battle. Let the next battle begin. The middle-aged protector announced. Zhang Sheng walked to the side of the fighting ring. Two figures flashed and appeared in the center of the fighting ring. This time, it was still two geniuses from the super regions, a man and a woman. However, their cultivation was much stronger than Yu Changfei's. This was because both of their cultivations had broken through to the early stage of the 9th realm of martial ancestor realm. Furthermore, they were both battle-hardened and extremely powerful. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. All kinds of ultimate moves and killing moves dazzled some people. The two of them exchanged more than 200 moves before the woman won by luck. Then, the third battle began. For this battle, Qiu Changkong went up, and his opponent was Tai Guangzhong from the Iron Peak. Tai Guangzhong's body was more than 2 meters tall, and his muscles were as hard as steel. He was full of strength and seemed to be invincible. Kid, you're from the Cloud Emperor mountain range? Hee, it's not bad to be able to come this far from that small place. However, it's all over. Tai Guangzhong said in disdain. You're still far from enough. Qiu Changkong was extremely confident. Oh, really? I'll beat you into a pig head. Boom. Tai Guangzhong took a step forward like a wild beast, causing the fighting ring to rumble. The muscles on his body swelled up, and a terrifying aura spread out. Early stage of martial ancestor realm level 9. This was Tai Guangzhong's cultivation. Iron Fist. Boom. Tai Guangzhong roared as he threw a punch at Qiu Changkong. Thunder Sword, slash. Qiu Changkong shouted. In the next instant, crimson-red lightning flashed around his body. The scarlet lightning burst out with his combat sword, forming a scarlet lightning sword. Boom! The scarlet thunder sword and Tai Guangzhong's fist collided. The next moment. Bang! 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 Tai Guangzhong's body trembled, and his face suddenly changed. He took 9 steps back in a row, and every step he took caused the fighting ring to rumble. Tai Guangzhong was at a disadvantage in one move. Everyone was shocked. He didn't expect Qiu Changkong to be so powerful. Damn it! Tai Guangzhong roared in anger. The next moment, a huge crocodile appeared above his head. The crocodile was over 20 meters long and covered in armor. This was the iron-armored demon crocodile, a powerful fierce beast that could fight with the flood dragon. There were 6 Silavira chakras around the iron-armored demon crocodile. Roar! The iron-armored demon crocodile roared and rushed into Tai Guangzhong's body. Suddenly, Tai Guangzhong's already burly body expanded again, and his aura became even more powerful. Bloodline? Do you think you're the only one who has that? Qiu Changkong sneered. In the next moment, a red ball of lightning appeared above his head. The crimson ball of lightning sizzled and surrounded by lightning, emitting a terrifying aura. This is the Scarlet Flame Mystic Thunder. Someone cried out in surprise as he recognized the lightning. There was no doubt that this was a special bloodline, and a natural type of special bloodline at that. The same type of bloodline could actually be divided into many types. For example, the fire bloodline, the ice bloodline, and the lightning bloodline. Each of these bloodlines had many smaller types. There were strong and weak. As for the Scarlet Flame Mystic Lightning, it was considered strong even among the lightning bloodlines. Around the lightning bloodline, 6 Asilavira chakras were shining. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This was the first time he had seen Qiu Changkong's bloodline. Qiu Changkong's second bloodline was also a 6th-level king. No wonder the other geniuses in the Blazing Sun Empire couldn't compare to him. Qiu Changkong activated his bloodline power, and his aura grew even stronger. His entire body was covered in the power of lightning. Lightning sword, world annihilation. Whoosh! A thunderbolt sword instantly pierced through the void and slashed towards Tai Guangzhong. Tai Guangzhong bellowed in anger. His entire body swelled up like a giant of steel as he lunged towards Qiu Changkong. Boom! Another earth-shattering boom rang out. Tai Guangzhong let out a blood-curdling screech as his huge body was sent flying far away before crashing onto the ground. His steel-like body was covered in lightning and blood. He was defeated. Tai Guangzhong had been defeated. In front of Qiu Changkong, he had no way to fight back. Countless people were shocked. How could this young man from the Cloud Emperor mountain range be so terrifying? On the grandstand, Lu Xiu was so excited that his entire body was trembling. The 2 geniuses from the Cloud King mountain range had entered the second round. This was unbelievable. Although Lu Ming had entered the second round by luck, it was still the second round, right? At the edge of the fighting ring, Zhang Xing's eyes flickered with killing intent as he looked at Qiu Changkong with a grave expression. What a powerful force. No, I don't think it can be called force anymore. It contains a trace of intent. What kind of fortuitous encounter did Qiu Changkong encounter during this period of time? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Qiu Changkong's cultivation was only at the early 9th level of martial ancestor realm, but his force was extremely powerful. Lu Ming could feel that there was already a trace of intent within the momentum. This was something that only half-step kings could master. Interesting, very interesting. Lu Ming muttered, his fighting spirit growing stronger. Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, Qiu Changkong wins. The middle-aged man announced. Qiu Changkong sheathed his sword and walked to the side. Chapter 426. For 26 it's actually him again. Next, number 4 versus number 13. The middle-aged protector announced. Another 2 peerless geniuses went up. There was nothing to say, and the battle immediately erupted. These 2 people were both battle-hardened geniuses. However, one of them had already reached the early stage of the 9th martial ancestor realm, while the other was still at the peak of the 8th martial ancestor realm. Naturally, the 9th level martial arts grandmaster genius had the absolute advantage and defeated his opponent. The battles continued, and geniuses stepped forward one by one. Lu Ming realized that some of the geniuses had extremely high cultivation levels. One of them was in the late stage of the 9th level martial ancestor realm, while the other was in the middle stage. It was Xian Feng's turn. After not seeing him for some time, his cultivation had improved greatly and reached the middle of the martial arts grandmaster 9 Dan. He entered the second round with an absolute advantage. 2 hours later, all 8 pairs of geniuses had finished their battles. The 8 people who had entered the second round had all appeared. Of course, including Lu Ming, who had a bye, there were 9 people in total. The other 8 were eliminated just like that. The middle-aged guardian took back their jade plates, leaving only the plates with the numbers 1 to 8. Of course, there was also the jade plate for the buy. The middle-aged protector waved his hand. Genuine qi surged and covered the 9 jade tokens, wiping away all the traces on them. He was doing this to prevent anyone from tampering with the jade token and leaving behind an aura or mark. Then, the 9 jade tablets floated in the air, emitting a hazy radiance. The rules are the same as before. Here, there are 8 jade plates from number 1 to 8. Draw lots to decide your opponent. Number 1 to 8, number 2 to 7, and so on. Those who draw the empty jade plate will directly enter the next round. The middle-aged protector announced. I'll go first. It was still Zhang Sheng, who was extremely confident. With a wave of his hand, a jade token was sucked into his hand. Lu Ming, Qiu Changkong, Xian Feng, and the rest each drew a jade card. This time, who will get the buy card? In the audience, everyone's eyes were bright and full of curiosity. Although drawing the buy card might not necessarily mean winning the throne of the East Heaven Divine Guard, it would greatly reduce the consumption of true qi and physical strength, making the next round easier. On the fighting ring, everyone looked at their jade tokens. Lu Ming also took a look at the jade card. He was stunned. Buy again. Lu Ming actually drew the buy jade card again. My luck is too good. I got the buy jade plate twice in a row. Lu Ming muttered, somewhat speechless. To be honest, if he could, he really didn't want to draw the jade token. If he kept drawing empty tokens, how could he torture Qiu Changkong? Now, give me your numbers. The middle-aged protector said. I'm number 6. Zhang Sheng was the first to speak. I'm number 5. Qiu Changkong replied. I'm number 1. I'll be number 3. The rest of the people reported their numbers one by one. As the number of people decreased one by one, there were only 2 people left in the end. One was Lu Ming and the other was a fat man with big eyes. Everyone's eyes were focused on the 2 of them. There are only 2 people left. Lu Ming has not given his number yet. Could it be that he has a buy again? It shouldn't be possible. How could he draw the buy card twice in a row? I'm number 8. As the crowd was discussing, the large-eyed fatty flipped open the jade card. He looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression and announced the number loudly. Immediately backing up. Woo woo woo. Countless gazes turned to Lu Ming. Nest, it's him again, it's actually him again. It's really him. How is that possible? Is this some dog shit luck? He's really lucky. He got the buy card and directly entered the 3rd round. The crowd was in an uproar as they discussed. In the elder leading area, Lu Xiu was also stunned. This works too. Wouldn't Lu Ming directly enter the 3rd round? Countless envious gazes were directed at Lu Xiu. Lu Ming's good luck meant that Lu Xiu's luck was good. Although it was impossible for Lu Ming to become the Eastern Sky Divine Guard, Lu Xiu's reward would be higher the higher his ranking was. How could they not be jealous? Jian Fengyun, Jiang Hongwen, and the others were dumbfounded. Even the middle-aged guardian looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. He opened the jade card and said helplessly, I'm the buy card. As expected. It was him again. Everyone roared in their hearts. Alright, now that the drawing of lots has ended, let's begin the duel. Number 1 versus number 8. The middle-aged protector announced. 2 figures walked towards the center. One of them was the big-eyed fatty, and the other was Xian Feng. As for the others, they walked to the edge of the fighting ring. Lu Ming, you're really lucky. However, it's useless to rely on luck. In the end, you still have to rely on your abilities. The higher you climb with luck now, the worse you will fall when you don't have abilities later. Chiu Changkong said coldly as he walked past Lu Ming. Oh, really? I'm telling you, you're just lucky that I got the buy card, so you can run wild for a few more rounds. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Humph, what a glib tongue. Killing intent flashed in Chiu Changkong's eyes. He walked to the side and didn't say anything else. Chiu Changkong, I hope you can make it to the end. Otherwise, how am I supposed to torture you? Lu Ming thought in his heart. Boom! The battle in the center of the fighting ring broke out. Elemental edge sword technique. The statue of the god of berserkers gallops. Two loud shouts rang out. Xian Feng's sword chi was so terrifying that it seemed to be able to cut the sky. The big-eyed fatty was also very powerful. He was like a giant statue of the god of berserkers, barging in and destroying Xian Feng's sword chi. The two of them fought for 50 to 60 moves. In the end, Xian Feng's cultivation was higher than the fat man's. The fat man was only in the early stage of the martial arts Grandmaster 9th realm. He was no match for Xian Feng and lost. Xian Feng entered the third round. The spectators couldn't help but sigh. The geniuses from the ancient barren city were indeed powerful. They were the top geniuses in the entire eastern region of the Tianxian region. The duel continued. Soon, it was Chiu Changkong's turn. His opponent was a genius in the middle of the 9th level of martial ancestor realm. His cultivation was higher than Chiu Changkong's. But what was even more shocking was that he was still no match for Chiu Changkong. Chiu Changkong had crushed his opponent with an overwhelming force. Will, that's will. Chiu Changkong has already comprehended a trace of thunder will. No wonder he's so powerful. Genius, what a genius. As long as his cultivation reaches the peak of martial ancestor 9th realm, he will be a half-step king. This time, he's probably the Eastern Sky Divine Guard. Many of the spectators were experts, and many of them were even half-step kings. Naturally, he saw through the secret. Lu Ming, do you see the difference between you and me? Do you feel despair? Chiu Changkong walked to the side and another voice entered Lu Ming's ears. Idiot. Lu Ming pursed his lips and ignored him. You win. Chiu Changkong felt as if he had just punched air, and he was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. Next, it was Burial's turn. His opponent was also a genius in the middle of the 9th level martial ancestor realm. However, he was not Zhang Sheng's opponent at all. In just a few moves, he was beaten by Zhang Sheng until he vomited blood. If he had not admitted defeat in time, he would probably have been knocked unconscious again. Chapter 427. For 27 I object, this is not fair. Zhang Sheng placed his hands behind his back and walked to the side with a look of worship. He walked to the side and glared at Chiu Changkong with killing intent. As for Lu Ming, he was completely ignored. He was just a guy who relied on luck. He was not worthy of his attention or regard. After the burial, it would be the last battle. There wasn't much suspense in this match. One was a genius in the late stage of martial ancestor realm, while the other was in the early stage of martial ancestor realm. Both of them were battle-hardened geniuses. With their cultivation levels falling behind, it would be difficult for them to turn the tables. After more than 20 moves, the genius in the late 9th level of martial ancestor realm won. This martial ancestor realm 9 Dan later stage genius was called Song Yan. He was a genius from a super large region and had a cold expression. At this point, the 5 geniuses who had entered the third round were born. They were Zhang Sheng, Chiu Changkong, Xian Feng, Song Yan, and Lu Ming. Of course, Lu Ming was directly ignored by everyone. Up until now, Lu Ming had yet to make a move. In the eyes of the crowd, he was just lucky. This time, the selection of the East Heaven Divine Guards would definitely be decided among the 5 of them. Most people would place more importance on Qiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng. Now, let's do the last lot drawing. The rules are the same. From number 1 to 4, the other area will be free. The middle-aged judge announced. Then, just like before, he removed the aura on the jade tokens and suspended them in the air. This time, Lu Ming did not take any action and just waited there. Burial, Qiu Changkong, and the rest each chose a jade tablet. Lu Ming only kept the last one in his hand. This time, I wonder who will get the buy token. No matter who has it, I bet it won't be with Lu Ming. If he can get another free pass, I'll strip naked and run 1 round around this place. So ruthless. It's that ruthless, because I don't believe that there's such a lucky person in the world. There were all sorts of voices in the audience. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming flipped the jade card over and took a look. His expression immediately turned very strange. The buy card, he got the buy card again. Lu Ming's lips trembled when he drew the buy card for the 3rd time. Give me your numbers. The middle-aged protector said. Number 1. Burial flipped the jade token. I'm number 2. Qiu Wuyang opened the jade token. I'll be number 4. Song Yan said. In the end, Xian Feng gave Lu Ming a strange look and opened the jade card. I'm number 3. Silence. When Xian Feng flipped the jade token over, the entire hall fell silent. The crowd was silent. They looked at Lu Ming in a daze. Then, their eyes widened. A moment later, there was a loud noise. Nest, 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 it's him again, it's him again. Isn't this too heaven-defying? He got another buy card and directly entered the top 3. He didn't even fight a single round and entered the top 3. It's really blinding my eyes. This is too unfair. Some people were already incoherent. Hey, what did you just say? If Lu Ming draws the buy card again, you will strip naked and run away on the spot. Now, hurry up. What? What? What did you just say? Why can't I hear you? Oh no, I'm suddenly deaf. No, I have to find an inscriber to take a look. The perverted burly man who threatened to take off all his clothes immediately played dumb and found an excuse to slip away. Nest, this guy is so shameless. He didn't keep his word. Someone cursed. In short, the entire place was in chaos. As for Lu Xiu, Jian Fengyun, Jiang Hongwen, and the others, they were completely petrified. They were tongue-tied and didn't know what to say. The eyelids of the middle-aged protector of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace kept twitching. However, no one noticed that Lu Ming was also sighing and sighing. Slowly, he opened the jade card helplessly. The 2 big words, "Bai," were clearly written. I object, this is not fair. Suddenly, a loud shout was heard. Instantly, all sound disappeared. The entire place became so quiet that even the sound of a needle falling could be heard. Everyone was stunned, and all their eyes were focused on the person who shouted. The person who was screaming that it was unfair was actually Lu Ming. It was Lu Ming. Everyone was in a mess. Big brother, you're the one who drew the buy card, and you've drawn the buy card 3 times. It's not anyone else, and now you're actually crying out that it's unfair? If this was unfair, then the others would be vomiting blood. Even Zhang Sheng, Qiu Changkong, and the others' lips were twitching non-stop. They were completely dumbfounded by Lu Ming. How is it unfair? The middle-aged protector took a deep breath to calm himself down and asked. The others can fight each other and have their own opponents, but I don't. I just watch others fight each time. It's so boring. It's not fair. Lu Ming shouted. That was indeed what he was thinking. Why was Qiu Changkong getting a buy every time? What if Chiu Changkong was defeated by someone else? How was he going to torture Chiu Changkong and avenge Lu Yuntian? No one else knew what he was thinking. Suddenly, the crowd burst into an uproar. Nest, this guy is too despicable. He's simply taking advantage of us and still acting innocent. I can't take it anymore. I really can't stand it anymore. Oh heavens, oh earth, please strike him to death with a heavenly lightning bolt. The scene was noisy. Other people wanted to draw an empty card, but they couldn't. He, on the other hand, drew it every time and even felt uncomfortable. Guardian, why don't I exchange with someone else? Xian Feng, him. I'll exchange with him. Lu Ming said. Xian Feng's opponent happened to be Chiu Changkong. No way, this is the rule of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. The rules cannot be ignored. If you draw the buy, it means that you won't be able to get the buy. The middle-aged protector gritted his teeth as he spoke. He had never mentioned the rules of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace for this reason. This. Oh, okay then. Lu Ming sighed and walked to the platform. He waved his hand and took out a chair. He sat down and stared at the center of the platform in a daze. He looked very unwilling and helpless. This. At the sight of this scene, everyone gritted their teeth. Even Jian Fengyun and the others were in the same state. They could not wait to slash at Lu Ming. He was too hateful. The middle-aged man's eyelids suddenly twitched a few times. He took a deep breath and coughed a few times before saying, "Silence." Only then did the scene slowly quieten down. Alright, next, let the battle begin. Number 1, Buried Life, against number 4, Song Yan. The middle-aged protector announced. Chiu Changkong and Xian Feng walked to the side, leaving only Zhang Sheng and Song Yan in the center of the fighting ring. Song Yan, right? Hurry up and admit defeat, you're not my match. Zhang Sheng looked at Song Yan with contempt. You're talking big. Zhang Sheng, you may be strong, but I'm not afraid of you. This time, I'm determined to win the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. Song Yan wielded his saber, and his saber aura soared into the sky. You want to take over the Eastern Sky Divine Guards? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Since that's the case, I'll let you see the gap between us. Boom! Just as Zhang Sheng's voice fell, an extremely powerful aura erupted from his body. Chapter 428. 428 Top 3. The aura of death burst out, and the essence chi surged. It soared into the sky like a smoke signal, and his body was covered with powerful true chi. This true chi was flowing like liquid. Such terrifying true chi. This is the peak of Martial Ancestor Realm Level 9. Zhang Sheng has actually reached the peak of the 9th level of the Martial Ancestor Realm. It's terrifying. It seems like no one is his match. Perhaps only Chiu Changkong, who has comprehended a sliver of Intent Realm, has a chance. Burial's all-out outburst caused a clamor in the audience, shocking countless people. Before this, Zhang Sheng had not used his full power, so no one knew his true cultivation level. Now that he had used his full power, it was shocking. Song Yan's eyes also revealed a serious look. Blade of the vast expanse. Song Yan shouted. Buzz! Above his head, 18 huge sabers appeared. The saber's body was engraved with vast mountains, which was extremely wonderful. Moreover, the blade was surrounded by 6 meridian cycles. This was Song Yan's bloodline, a special bloodline. So what if he has a special bloodline? Come out, Blood Dragon! Zhang Sheng let out a low roar and a blood-red light exploded above his head. A huge blood-red flood dragon appeared. It was also a 6th-level king bloodline. Their bloodlines exploded, raising their auras to the peak. However, it was obvious that the power of the burial was stronger. Wave after wave of aura pressed towards Song Yan. Song Yan's expression changed and he shouted, "Vast mountain cleaving." Buzz! A dazzling blade light burst out from Song Yan's hand. It was 100 meters long and 10 meters wide. It was crystal clear and bright as it slashed towards Zhangsheng. An empty shell. Zhangsheng snorted coldly and shot up into the air. His claws were like the claws of a blood dragon. As he swiped out with his claws, the space rumbled and he instantly pierced through the space, grabbing onto the saber light. "Break! Break!" Zhangsheng shouted as he clenched his fist, shattering the blade light like glass. Buzz! Following that, Zhangsheng's figure flickered as he pounced towards Song Yan, appearing in front of him in an instant. Song Yan's expression changed drastically. He didn't expect that his full-force attack would be so easily countered by Zhangsheng. Vast earth-shattering strike. Song Yan roared as he waved his saber. A mountain appeared above his head and in front of him. The two mountains were filled with a vast and desolate qi. One was used to protect the body, while the other was used to suppress Zhangsheng. Dragon Devour, point. Die! Zhangsheng shouted coldly as he transformed his claws into fingers. His fingers glowed with a pitch-black luster as he thrust them towards the two mountains. Bang! Bang! The two mountains exploded like balloons on Zhangsheng's fingers. The finger force didn't stop as it struck towards Song Yan. Clang! At the crucial stone carving, Song Yan used his saber to block in front of him. With a clang, his body was sent flying like a cannonball, and he coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Song Yan is going to lose. Isn't this a little too fast? We've only exchanged a few moves, so how can Burial be so strong? He's surpassed a battle genius. Burial has definitely surpassed a battle genius. He's between a battle genius and a battle genius. Terrifying, too terrifying. There's actually someone who can surpass the genius of 4 battles. Everyone in the audience was shocked. The most powerful warriors in each super region were usually 4 battle geniuses. 4 battle geniuses were the limit. Those who surpassed 4 battle geniuses were extremely rare. Each of them was a rare genius. To think that Burial had actually reached such a level. It was truly terrifying. Buzz! Zhangsheng had the upper hand, and his attacks were like a storm, pouring down on Song Yan. Dragon Devour, palm. Boom! Once again, Zhangsheng's fingers turned into a palm, and he struck out towards Song Yan. This time, Song Yan was even more miserable. Although he tried his best to resist, he was still sent flying. He slid along the fighting ring for hundreds of meters, and blood sprayed all over the ground. "I surrender, I admit defeat." As soon as he caught his breath, Song Yan started to scream madly. There was no need to fight anymore. Song Yan knew that he was no match for Zhangsheng. Not only was his cultivation base behind, but his ability to fight above his level was also behind. If he continued to fight, he would only be looking for a beating. Why didn't you admit defeat earlier? You really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Zhangsheng coldly snorted, incomparably disdainful. Song Yan's expression was ugly. He struggled to get up and walked to the side of the fighting ring. Qiu Changkong looked at Zhangsheng with a grave expression, his brows furrowed. Next round, number 2, Qiu Changkong, versus number 3, Xian Feng. The middle-aged protector announced. Buzz! Buzz! 2 figures flashed and appeared in the center of the fighting ring. Qiu Changkong and Xian Feng both carried their swords on their backs and stood tall. Xian Feng, you're no match for me. Just admit defeat. My opponent is Zhangsheng. There's no need for you to struggle. Qiu Changkong spoke. You didn't even fight, who knew you would win? Xian Feng's eyes were as sharp as swords. He waved his hand and a combat sword appeared in his hand, putting up a stubborn resistance. If you don't know what you're doing, then you'll be defeated. Qiu Changkong coldly spoke as his sword chi soared up into the sky. The two dazzling sword lights collided with a loud bang. Qiu Changkong had comprehended the force of thunder and had even comprehended a trace of intent realm, while Xian Feng had comprehended the force of gold. Both of their attacks were extremely overbearing. Buzz! Buzz! Everyone could only see two sword lights clashing in the air at an extreme speed, and in an instant, they had collided more than 10 times. Whoosh! Then, a figure flew back quickly and stopped at the edge of the fighting ring. It was Xian Feng. Xian Feng's body suddenly trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, everyone saw a deep sword wound on his chest. It was so deep that his bones could be seen, but not a drop of blood flowed out. That was because the area around the wound was filled with the power of lightning. The blood that flowed out was evaporated by the power of lightning. Xian Feng, if it was a life and death battle, you would have been dead. Qiu Changkong looked at Xian Feng arrogantly. I've lost. Xian Feng sighed and did not say anything more. Although Xian Feng's cultivation was slightly higher than Qiu Changkong's, Qiu Changkong had already comprehended a trace of thunder will. The gap was too great to make up for. Xian Feng was no match for him at all. With Xian Feng's defeat, the crowd burst into a heated discussion. The top two are Qiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng. The Eastern Sky Divine Guards must be between these two. Top two. Aren't they the top three? Top 3. Lu Ming, forget it. I've relied on luck to get to this point. It'll be good enough if I can block Qiu Changkong and Burial's move later. That's true. Did you guys notice that none of the top 3 are from the super regions? This is really rare. Yeah. Old Lu, I didn't expect that 2 people from your Cloud Emperor mountain range would make it into the top 3. Although one of them made it by luck, I still have to congratulate you. Someone from the Elders area congratulated Lu Xiu. I was lucky. Lu Xiu was already grinning from ear to ear. Zhao Sui's eyes were red with jealousy. Qiu Changkong is the winner of this round. The top 3 have been decided. The 3 of you will take turns to fight each other. The winner will be the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. The middle-aged protector announced. Chapter 429. 429 You two, come at me together. Aya, it's finally my turn. I almost fell asleep. At the side of the fighting ring, Lu Ming stood up slowly. He waved his hand and kept his chair. Then, he walked towards the center of the fighting ring. This fellow. The others were already speechless. Qiu Changkong and Barry Life's battle had clearly ended in a few moves and did not take much time. However, Lu Ming said that he was about to fall asleep. This was obviously infuriating. Especially those young geniuses who lost, they were even more annoyed. I'm actually ranked after this guy. I'm really unwilling. That's right. This guy is purely relying on luck. If I meet him, I'll take care of him in 3 moves. A few geniuses from the super regions gritted their teeth and discussed. They didn't lower their voices, and their voices spread far and wide, being heard by many people. Naturally, Lu Ming had heard it too. Hee. Lu Ming chuckled for no reason. He went to the center of the fighting ring and stood in a triangular formation with Qiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng. This guy is too much of a hindrance. Let me deal with him first. A cold glint flashed in Zhang Sheng's eyes. A powerful aura erupted from his body and pressed down on Lu Ming. Buzz! Qiu Changkong unsheathed his sword and cut off the aura of death. He said coldly, he's mine, Zhang Sheng. I'll deal with him first, then I'll fight you. Yours? Why? I've been unhappy with this kid for a long time. This time, I must finish him off. Chiu Changkong, don't worry, I won't make you wait too long. I can finish him off in 2 moves. Zhang Xing said coldly. No, Lu Ming is mine. Chiu Changkong didn't yield an inch. The audience was stunned for a moment, then they sighed. Lu Ming is done for. Both Burial and Chiu Changkong have their eyes on him. Could it be that this fellow has a grudge against Chiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng? I think so. If I were Lu Ming, I would admit defeat immediately. Otherwise, I'll be in trouble. I bet that he's going to admit defeat. Otherwise, I'll strip naked and run 1 round on the spot. Nest, it's you again. Weren't you deaf just now? Why did you come back? Nonsense. Such an exciting battle only happens once every 5 years. How could I miss it? This time, you said you're not allowed to go back on your word. I won't cheat. Reserve Ditian Divine Guards and Ditian Divine Guard area. Jian Fengyun, Jiang Hongwen, and the others were all worried. Lu Ming, are you going to admit defeat? Jian Fengyun muttered. Based on his understanding of Lu Ming, he felt that Lu Ming would not admit defeat. Even if he was no match for him, he would still fight. Boom! Boom! On the stage, 2 auras burst out and clashed. They were Chiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng. Zhang Sheng, Lu Ming, and I came from the same country and we have a grudge. This time, let me have him. Chiu Changkong stared at Zhang Sheng. A grudge with you? Hee, let me tell you, he also has a grudge with me. I must deal with him myself. Burial said. Lu Ming was speechless. These 2 fellows were treating him like air, like a dough that could be kneaded at will. Since this was the case. You two, you're so full of nonsense. Are you done? If you're done, then attack me together. I'm too lazy to deal with you one by one. Lu Ming's calm voice was heard, but it swept through the entire scene like a storm. Everyone in the area was petrified. They only widened their eyes and stared at the fighting ring. After a long time, there was a shocking uproar. What did Lu Ming say? What does he mean by that? He's going to challenge Chiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng at the same time. He's crazy. He's crazy. Don't tell me he's out of his mind after getting the buy card 3 times in a row. To challenge both Chiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng at the same time, he's definitely looking for a beating. I know. He knows that no one is allowed to kill in this battle. He wants to use this to create a commotion and gain some fame. Even if he's beaten half to death, he won't really die. That makes sense, that makes sense. Hey, didn't you say that if Lu Ming doesn't admit defeat, you will strip naked and run 1 round now? Now, quick. Don't go back on your word. Arg. Oh no, I'm blind, I can't see. Oh no, I'm going to find an inscriber to take a look. After that, the man quickly slipped away. Of course, he didn't really leave. Instead, he hid in a corner and watched the fighting ring. He didn't want to miss such an exciting event. Nest, I knew he was going to cheat. Even Lu Xiu, Jian Fengyun, and the others were dumbfounded. Lu Ming's way of doing things is indeed unexpected. Jian Fengyun sighed. He had thought that Lu Ming would not admit defeat and would accept the challenge. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that Lu Ming would challenge Chiu Changkong and Burial at the same time. In the sky, the middle-aged guardian was also extremely shocked. He looked at Lu Ming with great curiosity. As for Chiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng, they were completely stunned. The 2 of them were dumbfounded and thought they had heard wrong. What? What did you say? Zhang Sheng repeated. Are you deaf? I told the 2 of you to come at me together. Stop wasting my time here. Lu Ming said loudly. Ha ha ha. Chiu Changkong suddenly burst out in laughter. Lu Ming, do you think it's useful to go all out? Do you want to use the rules that can't take your life to show your pride and courage? Alright, I'll break all the bones in your body in a moment. Let's see how you're going to show your pride and courage. Chiu Changkong also felt that Lu Ming was using the rule that no one was allowed to harm others' lives to show off himself. However, he could not harm Lu Ming's life. Chiu Changkong had plenty of ways to make Lu Ming miserable. Chiu Changkong, I'm afraid that you'll admit defeat when the time comes. Lu Ming smiled faintly. I admit defeat. Ha, do you think I'll admit defeat? Don't worry, if I admit defeat, I'll quit the Detian Divine Guards from now on. Chiu Changkong coldly laughed. Guardian, is Lu Ming's request feasible? At that moment, Zhang Sheng looked at the middle-aged protector. Sure. The rules of the competition didn't say that one person can't challenge two people. The middle-aged protector nodded. All right. Zhang Sheng looked at Lu Ming and said coldly, Chiu Changkong, since he's asking for death, let's fulfill his request. Break all the bones in his body before he admits defeat. I'll take the left side and you'll take the right. We'll fight again after we've dealt with him. All right, let's do that. Chiu Changkong's expression was malevolent. Are you done discussing? If you're done, then make your move. Boom. As soon as Lu Ming finished speaking, he stomped on Chiu Changkong's face. The 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. His speed was unbelievably fast. As he took a step forward, the entire world rumbled. A terrifying pressure pressed down on Chiu Changkong. You. Chiu Changkong was shocked. He had never expected Lu Ming to attack just like that. Moreover, the power of that kick was too terrifying. Ah! Chiu Changkong let out a long howl. Dazzling lightning power burst out from his body, forming a ball of lightning in front of him. Chapter 430. 430 Who's the genius? Blood Dragon Claw. Zhang Sheng reacted in time and grabbed out with claw lights. Chi. The force of the claw ray continuously offset the power of Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. However, the two of them had attacked in a hurry and their power was limited. Although they kept nullifying the power of Lu Ming's kick, they could not stop it completely. Lu Ming's foot continued to move forward. Bang! He crushed the ball of lightning in front of Chiu Changkong with his foot and stomped on his face. Chiu Changkong let out a blood-curdling screech as his body was sent flying backward. He rolled over a dozen times on the ground before he managed to stand up. However, his face was already swollen and blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth. The footprint was especially clear, and it was imprinted on Chiu Changkong's face. This. Everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Lu Ming was too shameless. He had attacked without any warning. However, they were more shocked by Lu Ming's ability. In front of Chiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng, a kick that sent Chiu Changkong flying would be useless even if it was a sneak attack if one was not strong enough. However, Lu Ming could actually do it. It was enough to show how terrifying his abilities were. Ah! Chiu Changkong roared madly. He was going crazy with hatred. He was careless and was kicked in the face by Lu Ming. This was a great humiliation. He could not wait to skin Lu Ming alive. Lu Ming, if I don't kill you, I'm not a human. Chiu Changkong bellowed in rage. He had gone completely mad. His body was covered in dense lightning, and his combat power erupted without any reservation. Lightning Sword, World Annihilation. The combat sword was unsheathed, and a sword of lightning cut through the sky as if it had come from beyond the sky. Dragon Devour, Point. At the same time, Zhang Sheng also made his move, using his ultimate move. Without a doubt, both of them had unleashed the power of their bloodlines. The two of them attacked at the same time with terrifying power that seemed to be able to destroy everything as they attacked Lu Ming. Everyone's eyes were wide open as they looked at the fighting ring. Could Lu Ming block it? Although Lu Ming's kick had been very powerful, Qiu Changkong had only been hit by it because he had been careless. That was what most people thought. Now, faced with Qiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng's all-out attacks, did Lu Ming still stand a chance? He wouldn't be killed in one shot, right? That would be breaking the rules. Bang! Lu Ming bent his legs and leaped. His figure soared into the sky, instantly reaching 1,000 meters in the air. Lu Ming, don't even think about escaping. Kill! Burial and Qiu Changkong roared and changed the direction of their attacks, continuing to attack Lu Ming. Escape? Who's escaping? Lu Ming said softly, the corners of his lips curling into a cold smile. Boom! A huge stone tablet rushed out. 5 Asilavira chakras flashed and then rushed into Lu Ming's body. 5 meridian cycles, 5th level king level blood meridian. Lu Ming is only a mere 5th level king level blood meridian. Can you guys see it? His cultivation is only at the peak of the 8th level of the martial ancestor realm. With such combat strength, he actually challenged Qiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng at the same time. What a joke, what a joke. So he has always been relying on luck. That kick just now was also calculated but not calculated. The moment Lu Ming's aura exploded, it caused a wave of contempt and ridicule. Buzz! Buzz! Qiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng's attacks closed in on Lu Ming in an instant. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming looked down from above and took a step. A dragon roar resounded, shaking the world as a vast energy pressed down. This move again, break. Qiu Changkong roared. He had comprehended a trace of the force of thunder, causing Qiu Changkong's attack power to rise to a terrifying level. The power of the lightning sword burst forth and tore a hole in the power of Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. At the same time, Zhang Sheng pointed his finger and Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps collapsed instantly. Die! The two of them roared. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm as he took another step forward. The second step of the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps, was another step on top of the first step. The 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps was getting stronger with each step he took. With every step he took, the power of the steps would increase exponentially. With Lu Ming's current physical body and the strength of his essential qi, the second step could barely be comparable to the first level of a heaven-level martial arts technique. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled as if a true dragon was patrolling the world. The space trembled violently, and a crazy amount of power gushed out. Bang! Bang! Zhang Sheng and Qiu Changkong's bodies trembled, and their expressions changed drastically. Their attacks collapsed in an instant. After that, they felt an incomparably powerful force surging towards them. The two of them felt as if they had been hit by an ancient divine mountain. Their bodies were like meteors, falling to the ground. Boom! Boom! The two of them stepped onto the fighting ring, causing it to rumble. Their faces turned pale and they almost spat out blood. Hiss hiss hiss. Everyone in the audience gasped. Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at the young man in the air in disbelief. With one move, he had repelled the combined attacks of Burial and Qiu Changkong and even gained the upper hand. Was this Lu Ming's ability? This was simply unbelievable. This was too terrifying, right? Oh my god, am I seeing things? Did Lu Ming defeat Burial and Qiu Changkong in one move? This is unbelievable. Lu Ming's cultivation is only at the peak of the 8th level martial ancestor realm, but he's so terrifying. How many battles has he gone through? How could this be? How could there be such a powerful genius in the world? Countless people were so shocked that they were incoherent. Burial was already at the peak of the 9th level of the martial arts Grandmaster realm, an entire level higher than Lu Ming. Furthermore, Burial himself was a genius who had surpassed the 4 battle geniuses. Adding them up, he was more than 5 levels higher than an ordinary martial ancestor 8 Dan peak. Lu Ming could actually suppress Burial. Did that not mean that Lu Ming was a level 6 talent? A talent of 6 battles. Everyone's heart trembled at the thought of this word. A 4-battle genius was already a rare genius in the world. Then, what kind of concept was a 6-battle genius? No one could imagine it. Previously, when Lu Ming drew the buy card 3 times in a row, everyone thought that he was just lucky. If he really had to fight, he would have been defeated long ago. Now, they realized that they were gravely mistaken. If Lu Ming were to take action, he could simply sweep them away. At the edge of the fighting ring, the geniuses who had already lost were pale. In particular, there were a few people who boasted shamelessly earlier that if Lu Ming encountered them, they would finish him off in 3 moves. Now, their faces were burning hot, and they wished they could find a hole in the ground to hide in. It was really embarrassing. In the area for the elders, Lu Xiu was stunned. Then, his body began to tremble uncontrollably as if he had epilepsy. Excited, he was too excited. Like the others, he had thought that Lu Ming was just lucky. However, he now realized that Lu Ming was a rare genius. Even the middle-aged protector's pupils contracted. Then, he revealed a look of surprise. This time, a rare genius has finally appeared. The middle-aged protector was overjoyed. How can this be? Impossible. How can Lu Ming be so powerful? On the battle platform, Qiu Changkong cried out hysterically, finding it hard to accept this. Zhang Xing's eyes were also filled with shock. Chapter 431. 431 completely crushed. The two of them could not believe that they were defeated by Lu Ming in 1 move despite joining forces. Their blood and qi were in turmoil and they almost vomited blood. What's impossible? Just because you've never seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Lu Ming looked down at them from above. When Lu Ming had advanced the true war dragon technique to the 7th stage, his combat strength had already surpassed that of a level 5 genius. After he had cultivated the heaven rank martial arts technique, his combat strength had completely entered that of a level 6 genius. A heaven rank martial skill was too powerful, and it had a terrifying effect on increasing one's combat power. Heaven rank martial skills were extremely rare, yet they were unusually difficult to cultivate. Many low-tier kings didn't even have a heaven rank martial skill, or they didn't successfully cultivate it. From this, one could see the rarity and power of heaven rank martial skills. He was a level 6 fighter. Even if Lu Ming's cultivation base was 1 level lower than that of Burial, his combat strength was still half a level higher than his. That's impossible. I'm the strongest. Lu Ming, you're just an ant. An ant that has been living under my light. Qiu Changkong roared. The power of lightning flashed all over his body, as if he was wearing a coat of lightning. Having comprehended a trace of the will of thunder and lightning, he had already transcended the use of the power of thunder and was about to completely control the thunder and lightning itself. Once one completely comprehended the intent realm and condensed an intent rune, one would be able to completely control the intent realm of heaven and earth. If someone who comprehended the fire intent condensed a fire intent rune, then he could become the fire god and control all the flames in the world at will. If he comprehended the thunder intent, he could control all the thunder in the world. That was already the king realm, which was extremely powerful. Qiu Changkong had only comprehended a trace of the thunder will, and he was still a long way from forming the thunder rune. Kill! Lightning sword, sky-breaking. Qiu Changkong roared as he unleashed his most powerful attack. Dragon Devour, palm. Zhang Sheng also sent a palm strike at Lu Ming. It's a pointless struggle. Qiu Changkong, you said that you wanted me to see the difference between us. Now, open your dog eyes and see clearly. Lu Ming's mocking voice was heard. The next moment, the demon-subduing spear appeared in his hands. Dragon God's 3 absolutes, true dragon strike. As the long spear stabbed out, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth surged crazily. A true dragon with green and red colors all over its body emerged. The two-colored true dragon was over 100 meters long. With a deafening roar, it pounced at Qiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng. The 3 absolutes of the dragon god was cultivated with 2 forces. It was a true heaven-grade martial technique, and it was even stronger than the second step of the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps. Boom! The two-colored true dragon collided with the attacks of the 2. In the sky, a blinding light shone. Then, the entire space trembled as if it was the end of the world. After a while, when the blinding light dissipated, the crowd saw 2 figures falling down from the fighting ring like cannonballs. It was the burial of life and Qiu Changkong. Boom! Boom! Like 2 toads, the 2 of them fell heavily on the fighting ring. The fighting ring rumbled and the 2 of them spat out blood. However, the difference between the 2 of them could be seen. Zhang Xing spat out a mouthful of blood and stood up in a hurry. His entire body was covered in a bloody glow as he stared at Lu Ming in the sky in shock. Qiu Changkong was half kneeling on the ground. His body was trembling and blood was flowing out of his mouth. His injuries were more serious than being buried. Qiu Changkong, do you understand now? Lu Ming looked down at him. Ah! Qiu Changkong roared in rage. He felt like he was going crazy. He felt boundless humiliation and he screamed madly, "Damn it, Lu Ming, you deserve to die. I'm going to kill you and destroy the mystical sword sect. I'm going to kill your parents with my own hands. Ha ha ha, you can't fight against the power behind me." Qiu Changkong laughed maniacally. Die. Lu Ming's reply to Qiu Changkong was a cold and emotionless die. At this moment, Lu Ming's entire body burst out with an incomparably cold killing intent, as if he had transformed into a god of death. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming let out a long howl and took a step forward. The world rumbled. Block it. Dragon's bite, fist. Zhang Xing roared, his palm turned into a fist, and he punched out twice in a row. Qiu Changkong roared as he slashed out with his sword. Bang! A loud boom blocked Lu Ming's first step, but Lu Ming took a second step. Qiu Changkong let out another blood-curdling screech as he was pressed to the ground by the powerful force. He spat out mouthfuls of blood. Zhang Xing's body slid a few hundred meters away, leaving a trail of blood in the fighting ring. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. However, before the 2 of them could catch their breath, Lu Ming took 2 consecutive steps forward. This time, it was aimed at burial. Ah, I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Zhang Sheng was finally afraid. He shouted in horror and tried his best to resist. Bang! The 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps' power pressed Zhang Sheng down onto the platform, almost crushing him. A series of bone-cracking sounds rang out from his body, and it was unknown how many bones in his body had been broken. The entire place was deathly silent. Time and space seemed to have frozen at this moment. It was as if there was only one person left in the world, a young and handsome figure that floated in the air. Whoosh! After a long while, the entire place burst into an earth-shattering uproar. Oh my god, Lu Ming won. Lu Ming actually won. Furthermore, he won so easily. He's too strong. Qiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng were unable to fight back at all. He's only at the peak of the 8th level of the martial ancestor realm. Who said that he was just lucky? It's not just his luck. It's clearly the other people's luck. If he had gone in early, Qiu Changkong or Burial would not have made it to the last round. They might have been swept by Lu Ming. I didn't say that just now. On the contrary, I have always felt that Lu Ming must be a proud son of heaven who is blessed by the heavens since he can draw the Bai card all the time. He is definitely extraordinary. No, I remember that you didn't say that just now. You were certain that Lu Ming was just lucky and even mocked him. Where? There's absolutely no such thing. I've already seen that he's a rare genius. How could I mock him? Absolutely not. The scene was noisy, with shouts and arguments rising and falling. It was as if this was the only way they could express the shock in their hearts. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and sucked. A huge amount of essential qi was produced and the buried storage ring was sucked into his hand. No, you can't be scared. Zhang Xing roared. What are you shouting for? You've lost. This is my trophy. Lu Ming berated. Burial. He had killed countless geniuses around the dragon's cave. The storage rings of those geniuses had all fallen into his hands. Lu Ming could not forget this. Zhang Xing's eyes were red. There were endless resources in there. It was the capital that he had used to rise up. Now, all of them were taken advantage of by Lu Ming. His heart was broken. Lu Ming could not be bothered with him. Buzz. He moved and appeared in the sky above Qiu Changkong. His eyes were cold and filled with killing intent as he looked at Qiu Changkong. Lu Ming, what do you want to do? I'm already injured, which means I've lost. You still dare to attack me? Qiu Changkong sneered at Lu Ming. You lost? I didn't hear you admit defeat. I've forgotten that you've just said that you'll never admit defeat. If you do, you'll be a joke. Lu Ming said indifferently. Even if I didn't admit defeat, I'm injured. I'm seriously injured. Can't you see? It's the same as losing. Qiu Changkong shouted. He wanted to admit defeat, but he couldn't bring himself to do so. Injured, I'm not injured enough. With that, Lu Ming took a step forward. You. Qiu Changkong howled in shock. He wanted to resist, but he was already heavily injured. How could he have the strength to do so? Bang! Pai li pa la. He followed in the footsteps of his death. He did not know how many bones in his armor had been broken by Lu Ming. Just now, Qiu Changkong and Zhang Sheng had said that they would work together to break all of Lu Ming's bones. Now, Lu Ming had broken all of their bones as he had wished. Qiu Changkong howled hysterically. Which part of the foul was it? A murderous look flashed in Lu Ming's eyes as he condensed a long spear of essential qi in his hand. No, I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Qiu Changkong screamed madly. He could feel the killing intent in Lu Ming's eyes. Lu Ming was really going to kill him. He was going to ignore the rules and kill him. Chapter 432. 432 Lu Ming, the Eastern Sky Divine Guard. He was really afraid. Lu Ming was really going to kill him. He was extremely bold. Die! Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. A spear appeared in his hand. The spear turned into a bolt of lightning and pierced the air. It brought with it a terrifying force as it pierced toward Qiu Changkong. Arg! No, save me. Qiu Changkong's courage was almost shattered. His body, which was like a pile of mud, trembled violently as he let out a hysterical scream. He was screaming so miserably that he was on the verge of tears. Buzz! At this moment, a scorching wave flashed past. Lu Ming's spear gleam suddenly disappeared. It disappeared without a trace. A tall figure appeared on the fighting ring. It was the middle-aged protector. Lu Ming, the rules can't be broken. If you break them, it'll be very difficult for you to join the Detian Divine Guard if you kill him now. You have to know the priority of this matter. The middle-aged protector said. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. He knew that he would not be able to kill Qiu Changkong today with the middle-aged protector around. He cupped his fists and said, Lu Ming knows. N. The middle-aged protector nodded. Ha ha ha, I'm saved. Lu Ming, I'll definitely take revenge. I'll take revenge 10 times, 100 times more. Qiu Changkong laughed and roared in his heart, his eyes flashing with extreme hatred. Today, Lu Ming had embarrassed and humiliated him in front of so many people. He hated Lu Ming to the core. Men, carry them down to treat their injuries. The middle-aged man said. A few people immediately flew down and carried Qiu Changkong and Zhang Xing away. I hereby announce that the Eastern Sky Divine Guards belong to Lu Ming. The middle-aged protector announced. Whoosh! The entire place was in an uproar. Countless people were discussing and discussing. It's a surprise. It's really a surprise. Lu Ming actually won the throne of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. That's right. I would never have thought that after so many years, another genius from a small region would be able to become one of the 4 Divine Guards. A genius from a small area fighting for the 4 Divine Guards. It's so rare. It only happens once every 500 years. I didn't expect to see it. I'm so lucky. So handsome. Lu Ming is so handsome. I want to woo him. A young girl in the prime of her youth shrieked, her eyes shining. Everyone was shocked. Lu Ming had fought against 2 opponents and had an overwhelming victory. Everyone was taken aback. At the elder in charge area. Brother Lu, congratulations. Lu Ming has won the title of the Eastern Sky Divine Guard. That's right. Brother Lu really has a good eye for talent. Such a genius was found by Brother Lu. He even hid so deeply before. Brother Lu, please take care of this little brother in the future. The group of elders beside Lu Xiu all beamed with joy as they congratulated him. No, this was no longer congratulatory, it was simply flattery. You're welcome, you're welcome. Lu Xiu replied to them one by one, but his smile was so wide that it almost reached his ears. Not far away, Zhao Sui's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. His eyes were full of disbelief, and he kept muttering, how could this be? How did it end up like this? In the reserve area of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards, Jiang Hongwen and Shengguan Yunyan's eyes were filled with shock. Lu Ming took over the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. My Cloud Emperor Mountain Ranges people actually seized the Eastern Heaven Divine Guards. Jiang Hongwen kept muttering to himself, thinking that he was dreaming. Lu Ming, you're amazing, you're amazing. I'm far inferior to him. In the Detian Divine Guards area, Jian Fengyun sighed. However, he was not jealous at all. Instead, he was happy for Lu Ming. On the fighting ring, the middle-aged protector took a step forward and came before Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you're not bad. You've exceeded my expectations. However, there are many geniuses in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. You can't be arrogant because of this. The middle-aged protector said with a smile. Thank you for your guidance, Guardian. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed. He knew that the middle-aged guardian had no ill intentions towards him. On the contrary, he had good intentions. Chapter 433. 433 Chapter 433 Divine Guard Token. More than 1,000 people followed Deacon Huang and flew across the sky like locusts. However, in the huge Myriad Star City, they did not cause any waves. The Myriad Stars City was too huge, and there were too many experts. Countless people flew in the sky every day, and they were used to it. Because there were many people in the sky, there was a limit to the speed of flying in the sky of the Myriad Star City. If the speed was not limited, it would be impossible to control the speed of 10 miles in an instant, and a large number of warriors would bump into each other. At that time, he would not die in battle, but would crash into other martial artists. That would be embarrassing. Half an hour later, Deacon Huang led the group to a huge building. This building was a pavilion, 7 stories high, and it was extraordinarily majestic. In front of the pavilion, there was a stone tablet with a row of words written on it, the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, the Eastern Palace of the Tianxian region. This is the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's Eastern Branch Palace in the Tianxian region. It can't be, right? Lu Ming's eyes were full of doubts. The others were the same. Although this pavilion was huge, it couldn't hold too many people. If it was said to be the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's branch palace in the eastern region of the Tianxian region, wouldn't it be a little too shabby? Ha, little guys, watch carefully. Deacon Huang seemed to have seen through everyone's thoughts. He laughed and took out a purple gold token. He infused his true qi into it, and the purple gold token shone with rays of light. Suddenly, a wave of ripples appeared in front of the pavilion. Slowly, a huge whirlpool appeared. A spatial path. This place was actually a spatial path. Follow me. Deacon Huang smiled and stepped into the vortex. The others looked at each other and followed. Could there be another heavenly passage? Lu Ming pondered and stepped in. The world suddenly turned. The next moment, Lu Ming found himself in a huge square. The square was at least 10 miles in length and width. The ground was actually paved with white jade. On the white jade, there were inscriptions that glowed. More than 3,000 people appeared in the square. In the square, there was a shocking discussion. Who's that? Lu Ming looked forward. In front of him was a vast mountain range. Some of the mountains had peaks that reached into the clouds. It was extremely majestic. One could see that there were many huge buildings built between the vast mountains. There were palaces and towers, all of which were incomparably majestic, even taller than mountains. Between the mountains and the palace towers, one could see spiritual birds flying and strange beasts roaring, which resounded through the world. At the same time, he could see the figures of martial artists shuttling back and forth between the mountains and palaces. It was like a fairyland. Is this the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's branch palace in the eastern region of the Tianxian region? It's actually in a plain, and the heaven and earth spiritual energy is so rich, 5 or 6 times that of the Myriad Star City. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he pondered in his heart. No wonder there was only one tower outside the 1,000 Stars City. Alright, everyone. This is the real branch palace of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Although it's only a small plain, it's considered quite large in a small plain. It's tens of millions of miles wide and has abundant resources. Attendant Huang introduced with a smug expression. Thousands of miles. It's huge. Lu Ming was secretly speechless. In fact, along the way, Lu Ming had come into contact with quite a number of small plains. Mid-level plains were very rare. This was because the medium plains were vast and boundless, and the laws of heaven and earth were very complete. They could already develop their own world. Only official Ditian divine guards can enter here to cultivate. Reserve Ditian divine guards don't have the qualifications. Reserve Ditian divine guards live in the Myriad Stars City and need to go through difficult trials and assessments before they can become Ditian divine guards. Deacon Huang continued. Many people silently nodded their heads, rejoicing that they had become the Ditian divine guards. If they were to become reserve Dityan divine guards, they would have to undergo countless trials and tribulations. Moreover, the success rate wasn't high. Your information has already been sent over. Now, I'll help you with the procedures to join the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. Wait here for a while. Deacon Huang continued. Everyone saw that there was a huge palace at the side of the square. People were coming and going in the palace, and it must be the place for them to go through the procedures. Not long after, a beautiful young lady came to Attendant Huang's side and handed him a storage ring. Deacon Huang took it, and with a flash of light from his storage ring, a purple gold token appeared in his hand. This is your command token, known as the Divine Guard Command Token. It records all of your information in the Dityan Divine Guard. At the same time, if you go out, it also represents your identity as a Dityan Divine Guard. The token of the Divine Guards is made of purple gold cold iron and is engraved with special inscriptions. Outsiders can't imitate it. The first one, Lu Ming, is your token of the Eastern Sky Divine Guards. Deacon Huang said. Lu Ming walked up. Ha, little brother Lu, congratulations. The Eastern Sky Divine Guards have many benefits. Not only do you have the right to enter the 100 Deities slope once, but the place you live in is also different from the others. Wait a moment, I will take you there. Deacon Huang looked at Lu Ming, his face full of smiles. Many thanks, Deacon Huang. Lu Ming said politely and took the purple gold Divine Guard token. The others looked at Lu Ming with envy. Becoming a member of the Eastern Sky Divine Guard meant that he had a bright future ahead of him. Did he not see that even Deacon Huang was being polite to Lu Ming? He was trying to build a good relationship with him. Ha, you're welcome. Next, Zhang Sheng. He's injured now. I'll give him the next one. Attendant Huang took out another token. Then, Attendant Huang distributed the pieces one by one. As for Lu Ming, he had already walked to the side, holding the Divine Guard token, channeling his essential qi into it and reading it. The token was shimmering with a faint glow and a message appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming, 19 years old, from the Blazing Sun Empire of the Cloud Emperor Mountain Range, the Eastern Palace of the Tianxian region, Level 1 Emperor Heaven Divine Guard. It was just a short message. In the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, the Empyrean Heaven Divine Guards were divided into many ranks. Rank 1 was the lowest, and there were still ranks 2, 3, and 4 above it. Lu Ming did not know what the highest level was. The others were also watching. Soon, Deacon Huang distributed all the tokens. Now, I'll show you around the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Deacon Huang said. Then, he flew towards the vast mountains. Everyone rose into the air and followed. I believe all of you know that the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace has 9 great halls. They correspond to the 9 common concepts of the heavens and earth, namely wind, fire, water, metal, wood, earth, lightning, ice, and mountain. However, other than the 9 great halls, there are still a few other places in the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace that are extremely important and famous. The pagoda in front of you is the Heaven Connecting Pagoda. You can cultivate in it in the future and also test your cultivation and combat strength. The Heaven Reaching Tower is divided into many levels. There will be a corresponding reward for each level that you pass. Deacon Huang pointed to a tall tower in front of them and introduced it. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.